Chapter 1103. You're Evely's coach? Qin Zhao turned to look at the coach before him. Yes. Zabi actually knew Qin Zhao. After all, Qin Zhao was the school team leader for the sports event. However, Zabi had never liked Qin Zhao. He felt that Qin Zhao had only become the team leader because of Tiger. Of course, he hadn't planned on having a conflict with Qin Zhao. But now Qin Zhao wanted to pull Evely away. He couldn't take it anymore. In his opinion, Evely had to train according to his methods. Only then could she get good results. Only then could he have a chance to become a famous coach. He just had to think about what kind of rewards he would receive after Evely shocked the world. Zabi felt a bit excited. Evely was also the best stepping stone for his chance to become famous. Your training method isn't good, Qin Zhao said matter-of-factly. How can you say that my training method isn't good? I'm a professional coach. I have a swimming coach certificate. I'm a second-level national coach. So what? Did you train any famous students? Qin Zhao looked at Zabi. Did you? Zabi retorted. If he had any famous students, would he go to a university to be a coach? Qin Zhao pointed at him. I trained Evely. What do you think of her? Nonsense. How can you train Evely? Coach Zabi, you better be more polite to Qin. When I broke the women's world record for the first time and when I broke the men's world record, Qin was the one who specially trained me. You have no right to shout in front of him. Zabi's expression froze. Evely was the best proof. If she admitted it, then he was her coach. Reorganizing his words, Zabi said, Evely, you're so talented. It doesn't matter who trains you, but you're at a bottleneck now. Normal people can't help you improve at all. Only a professional coach like me can. Evely didn't think so. After all, her results in the school team had barely been outstanding. Outside of school, any professional athlete could easily beat her. She couldn't even break the school record, let alone the men's world record. But Qin Zhao was the best proof. Qin Zhao's greatest help to her was training her stamina. Evely could clearly feel that she could even participate in the decathlon. Nothing was clearer than this proof. Her results also proved that Qin Zhao's training was effective. Evely's results also proved that Qin Zhao's training method was effective. As long as you swim according to my method, you'll definitely do well. You'll even break your previous record. As long as you swim according to my method, you will definitely get a good result. You might even break your previous record. Let me ask you. Before this, did you teach any outstanding disciples? Evely continued to ask. Not in the past, but you will be my most outstanding achievement. Sorry, I'm not interested in becoming your disciple. Also, I'll apply to the school to reject your training later. If the school doesn't agree, then I'll refuse to participate in the competition. Qin R Zhao R Qin. You can Qin. Zhao him. You Qin. Zhao can Zhao can do Zhao can zs Qin Zhao Zhao he you, at that Qin. Zhao z common Zhao, heech, Zhao then Zhao zhe Zhao. If Evely didn't participate, the school would be in big trouble. After all, the school had received sponsorship fees. And why would the merchants give sponsorship fees? Because of Evely. If it was a normal competition, the school would have to spend at least a few $1 million to sponsor the competition. Evely's sponsorships could reach tens of millions of dollars. After all, Evely's audience was too big. She was even more popular than the sports event itself. But now, only a few $100,000 could be used to sponsor the games. What could be more worthwhile than this? Because of that, the school would never allow Evely to withdraw from the competition. Zabi had no right to speak in front of Evely. Qin Zhao glanced at Zabi. He asked for it. Zabi's face was red, and he glared at Evely with anger. Let's go for a walk, he said. Okay, let me change my clothes. Evely quickly changed her clothes. Ignoring Zabi's hateful and angry gaze, he followed Qin Zhao and left. I remember that the previous coach was Mr. Kunk. Where's Mr. Kunk? Qin Zhao asked, confused. The previous coach wasn't very talented, but Qin Zhao had a good impression of him. At least he wouldn't randomly change the students' swimming habits. Before Qin Zhao took over Evely's training, Kunk had always been the school's swimming coach. Mr. Kunk became famous because of me. Then he received an invitation from the French national team to be their coach. Qin Zhao really didn't expect Kunk to be the coach of the French team. What do you think? Are you angry that Mr. Kunk took the fruits of your training? No, I have a good impression of Mr. Kunk. Qin Zhao's way of doing things was that he wouldn't care about people he liked. If he didn't like someone, he would torture them to death. When Qin Zhao wanted to train Evely, Kunk had been very accommodating. He didn't make things difficult for Evely or Qin Zhao. Qin, I'll swim for 7 minutes first. Everyone was ambitious. At first, Evely only wanted to win the championship in last year's sports event. Who knew that she would swim a world record? Of course, the world record back then didn't count. After all, the sports event wasn't an international competition. However, Evely had entered the national team because of that. Then her journey to the top began. When she broke the men's world record, her reputation reached the peak. But now she wanted to improve further. But her current result was already very scary. After all, her best record was 12 seconds faster than the men's world record. What else could she do now? Either he would change the event or he would completely trample on this record. Qin Zhao wanted to refuse instinctively. Evely immediately added, 10 days, $10 million? Are you paying or is your family paying? Chapter 1104. To be honest, it was hard for Qin Zhao to reject the price. However, Qin Zhao did not agree immediately. Evely, even I'm not confident that I can help you swim for 7 minutes. I want 10 million for 10 days of training, Evely said. I don't mean that you have to help me swim for 7 minutes. Fine, I really can't reject your price. In the end, Qin Zhao gave in to the evil money. Then when do we start training? The sports meet starts on the 27th, Qin Zhao said. Let's start training next week. You can use the sports meet to prove your results. Oh, why don't you switch to other swimming events? I don't want to tire myself out, Evely said. Evely was actually very similar to Qin Zhao. They were both hedonists. If she participated in other events such as 100-meter freestyle, 200m, 400m, or even 1500m, she was confident that she could win the world championship. She was confident that she could win the world championship and even the world record. However, it was very difficult for her to beat all the records like 800-meter freestyle. If she won the other championships, it would not necessarily be the icing on the cake. If she regretted it, it would drag down her current reputation. Her manager thought so too. Unless Evely could greatly improve her results in other events. You can try other events so that you won't lose interest. Okay, I'll try the 400m and 1500-meter freestyle events this time. That's right. At least I feel like my training is paying off. 10 million for 10 days. 1 day is 1 million. I don't think there's anything more convincing than this. I still hope that you can prove the results of my training with your results. Oh, there's a party this weekend. Come with me. I want to sleep at home, Qin Zhao said honestly. Please, Evely said. I need someone to help me block some disturbances. What kind of party? It's an executive party for my endorsement company. Why would you accept a party like that? You should at least have a student party. I can't help it. The price they offered is too high. It's so high that even I can't refuse it. Although their party is an executive party, it's actually a negotiation between their company's boss and their business partners. I'm actually there to support their company, and the appearance fee of $1 million. Do I have any reason to refuse? Qin Zhao couldn't help but click his tongue. Was it really that easy for top athletes to earn money? He was actually paid $1 million to attend a party. It was even faster than the speed at which he earned money. Why don't you find a bodyguard to go with you? He can be your male companion. Don't you think that teachers should protect their students? Just this once? Just this once, I promise you. Alright, give me the address. As my partner, you should at least pick me up with a car. My cargo truck. Are you sure you want me to pick you up? Didn't you drive a sports car before? Although it's my girlfriend's car, it's definitely the worst thing I've ever bought. Ever since my girlfriend got pregnant, we've never driven that car again. It's not as comfortable as the minivan. The pursuit of a sports car was perfection in appearance and extreme power. Although they had been constantly improving the interior experience, there was only so much space, and it was still unable to truly allow the driver to experience true comfort. Forget it, come and pick me up. You can drive a car from my house. I don't want to go to the party in a small truck. Can I refuse? You've already promised me. If I knew this would happen, I would have refused you directly. When Qin Zhao returned home, he saw that Jerlin was playing with a skull. Stunned, Qin Zhao looked up at Feilai. Feilai, why did you buy a toy like that for Jerlin? Qin Zhao asked, surprised. That's a real skull. It's your mail. I opened it. When Jerlin saw it, she snatched it and played with it herself. If I forcefully took it away, she'd cry. Qin Zhao opened his mouth and turned to look at Jerlin. The skull was 1/3 of Jerlin's size. To be honest, Jerlin looked pretty cute hugging a skull. But the key was, this thing was a skull. Even Qin Zhao didn't want to hug a skull. Of course, he didn't want Jerlin to hug a skull either. Which *Shoal sent it to me? It's there. It's the same woman called Vanity from last time. Qin Zhao's face darkened. This woman had mailed him the metal object last time. He'd thought it was a treasure map, so he and Fei Lai went out to sea to find it. In the end it was a huge hole. This time she'd mailed him a skull. What was she trying to do? Did she have to mess up his life? Jerlin, give this to Daddy. No. It's Jerlin's. Jerlin hugged the skull and ran out. Qin Zhao chased after her and grabbed her by the back of her collar. No, don't take Jerlin's. Give it to me. Qin Zhao snatched it by force. He didn't know if it was dangerous. Qin Zhao really didn't feel safe letting Jerlin hug it. Daddy. Give it to me. Jerlin burst into tears. Qin Zhao handed Jerlin to Fei Lai. Fei Lai, in the future, don't open anything from this Vanity woman. Who knows what's inside? At least open it when I'm around. Who's this Vanity? An explorer. I've gone on 2 expeditions with her. Anything she sends can't be normal. Could there be some magic or curse in it? Fei Lai also felt that she'd been too rash. She hadn't thought about it at first because Qin Zhao would open packages for her before. She'd often opened packages for him too. The two of them had never hidden anything from each other. Hearing Qin Zhao say this, especially with a skull in the package, Fei Lai instantly felt that she'd been too rash. No, Vanity doesn't know magic, but she only interacts with and studies ancient civilizations and ruins. Sometimes she'll encounter supernatural creatures. She might not even know what she's sending. So we should be careful. If you're curious, call me. Okay, Qin, I was wrong. No, you weren't wrong. Chapter 1105. Qin Zhao tossed the skull in his hand. Fei Lai, on the other hand, was expressionless and fearless. Every time the skull was tossed, little Jerlin would reach out and try to catch it. That was how their family was. They didn't show any signs of resistance towards this kind of thing. Fei Lai knew that this was what Qin Zhao usually came into contact with. Qin Zhao had seen even scarier things before. Therefore, a mere skull was no different from an everyday item at home. Qin, show me the head. He tossed the skull to Fei Lai. Fei Lai took the skull and knocked on the top of the skull. Empty. Qin Zhao couldn't help but roll his eyes. From the texture of the skull, it was probably quite old. Of course, the skull was empty. It couldn't have been chopped off just now. Qin Zhao had been tricked by Vanity last time. Now he really had the urge to crush the skull. Destroying the item was the safest way to deal with it. However, Qin Zhao still had that curiosity in him. This curiosity made him unable to make up his mind. At the same time, he felt that he just had to be careful. He probably wouldn't fall into the same pit twice. Woof woof. Just then Walter rushed over, grabbed the skull in his mouth and ran out. Help? Qin Zhao and Fei Lai exchanged glances. Who shouted for help just now? It looks like that skull. Wanda, come back. Walter held the skull in his mouth and hid behind the door frame. Dogs love to bite bones, and Walter was no exception. There weren't many bones at home for it to chew. Now that it finally had one, it didn't want to give it back. However, like a child who had done something wrong, it hid behind the door frame and looked at them with one eye. Bring that thing over. This bone is for you. Qin Zhao took out an unknown bone from his spatial ring. The bone was more than a meter long and as thick as a thigh. There was still some flesh on it. The owner of this bone must have been quite large when he was alive. Qin Zhao tossed the bone before Walter. Walter immediately dropped the skull and started gnawing on the huge bone. Qin Zhao walked up and picked up the skull. He looked at its eyes. You were the one who made that sound. The skull did not respond again. Qin, let me see. I've never seen a talking skull before. Fei Lai was very interested in the skull, but no matter what she said, it wouldn't speak. Walter, since this one can't talk, it's yours. Don't. The skull spoke again. Are you finally willing to speak? Let's talk it out. Don't throw me to the dogs, the skull said. Holding the skull, Fei Lai asked curiously, Qin, what's this? Evil spirit? I don't know. Qin Zhao shook his head. That's weird. I'll ask a professional tomorrow. Who are you? Fei Lai asked. Lady, hello, I'm Undead Hanks. Undead Hanks? Won't you die? As you can see, even if all that's left of me is a skull, I'm still alive. Then what are you now? Technically speaking, I'm still human because my soul is perfectly preserved, Undead Hanks said. What if I throw you into a fire? If I burn you to ashes, will you still be alive? Other than dogs, no other method can kill me. My head can't be destroyed. Really? Let me try. I was once thrown into magma and crushed by machines, but I recovered. What? Qin Zhao asked curiously. I was once cursed by immortality and then received the Holy Spirit's blessing. The curse and blessing cancelled each other out, so I became what I am now. Then why did you say dogs can kill you? Because my pet dog and I were once stranded on a deserted island. To survive, I ate my dog. From then on, my pet dog turned into an evil spirit and kept pestering me. What about now? It's sealed, so dogs are the only creatures that can kill me. It should be the evil spirit of your pet dog, right? Other dogs can kill you too? I don't know, but I'm already traumatized by dogs. Okay, let's not talk about that for now. Tell me why Fanity sent you to me as a package. I don't know either. Before this, I was always in deep sleep. Walter, go get little 3 and the others. Woof woof, Walter barked loudly. A while later, Cerberus came out of the forest. Ever since Qin Zhao's land had expanded, Cerberus didn't want to return to the basement anymore. It had enough space to move around and there weren't many people in this area. Even if someone came, Cerberus would avoid them. When Cerberus appeared at the door, Undead Hank's teeth chattered in fear. Wait, what are you doing? Qin Zhao tossed the skull in the air. Cerberus kept drooling before Qin Zhao. I want to know the truth. Okay. I don't know who Fanity is, but the person who sent me the package told me to bring an Asian to Treasure Island. Treasure Island? Qin Zhao and Fei Lai exchanged glances. Then Qin Zhao asked, what Treasure Island? The legendary place where the Pirate King's treasure is buried. Legendary? Is that even a legend to you? I've been to Treasure Island, but I died on Treasure Island. As for whether the Pirate King's treasure is really buried on Treasure Island, I don't know either. Aren't you immortal? I became like this. I was originally like you. I'm a living person. Who are you? The person who sent you to me and told you to bring me to Treasure Island? This made Qin Zhao easily think of Fanity's package last time, which had lured him into the pit. Would he fall for such an obvious trap again? Where's Treasure Island? I don't know the exact location. Are you messing with me? No, I'm serious. I can only find the right direction with the sea breeze. Also, did Fanity tell you to bring me a message? Sir, I don't know the Fanity you mentioned, but from the name, Fanity should be a female. The person who sent me the package is male. Male? That's right. From his physical characteristics, I can be sure that he's a male. Qin Zhao fell into deep thought. The package was named Fanity, but the person who sent it was male. Chapter 1106. Are there a lot of treasures on the island? This was what Qin Zhao was most concerned about. If there really were countless treasures that Qin Zhao wouldn't have to worry about food for the rest of his life, he would be willing to take the risk. I don't know if there are treasures on the island, but there's the Spring of Immortality. To be honest, Qin Zhao didn't really believe that the Spring of Immortality existed in this world. Even a great lord like Beelzebub Zophi had to wage war to extend his life. Could a human really have the Spring of Immortality? If there really was a fountain of immortality, then where was the Pirate King now? I drank the Spring of Immortality, so I got the Curse of Immortality. Curse of Immortality? Is that a curse? In some movies, it was said that immortality was a curse. Qin Zhao felt that the happiness should be greater than the pain. The Curse of Immortality is that after I drank the spring, my body started rotting. Only dogs can free me. Then why don't you free yourself? Don't be silly. Even though my current state is terrible, it's better than real death. I don't want to disappear completely. You said that the evil spirit that your pet dog turned into was sealed? That's right, it was that person who sealed my dog, and he also used magic to bless me and dispel my curse. But you're still alive after dispelling it? Yes, I'm still alive. That person didn't expect that his magic would conflict with the curse. I became a real undying skeleton. The person you're talking about is the person who mailed you to me? Yes. In other words, that person actually knows the location of the island? I don't know. He found me and used a blessing spell on me. After that, I lost consciousness. When I returned to human society, 100 years had passed. I realized that the entire world had become unfamiliar. 100 years? 100 years ago, I was a very famous explorer. In the past, I was called the Great Hanks by the public. You've been on the island for so long. What dangers are there? Crazy and dangerous plants, giant snakes guarding the ruins, blind eyes wandering by the sea, upside-down palaces, and some evil hidden underground. Tell me in detail. No matter how the plants on Treasure Island are destroyed, they will grow back in a very short period of time. I once tried to ignite all the plants on the island, but I couldn't do it at all. I lit a large area, but the fire quickly extinguished itself. Then the burned plants will grow back in a few hours. These plants will take the initiative to attack living things. Hank said, Then there's the big snake that guards the ruins. It's a super big snake, a monster snake that you've never seen before. It is said that they are the souls of the Pirate King's crew. They wander along the coast every night as if waiting for pirate ships to come again. But every time a ship comes, they will swarm and kill those who disembark. They are very aggressive and stealthy at night, but they hate light very much. As long as you hold a torch in your hand, you can disperse them. There's also the upside-down palace, and what's the evil hidden underground? I've seen a palace hanging upside down in the sky on Treasure Island several times, but it soon disappeared. Are you sure it's not a mirage? I'm an explorer, Undying Hank said seriously. Of course I know what a mirage is. I can tell you very clearly that it's not a mirage, because every time the upside-down palace appears, some rubble, building stones, or scraps of buildings will fall from the sky. As for the evil hidden underground, that's what that man said. He came to the island and found me. He originally wanted to go deeper into the island, but halfway there he suddenly stopped. He said that there is a terrifying and evil existence hidden under the island. If he goes deeper, he will wake up the evil existence. Is that all you know? Actually, although I've been on Treasure Island for decades, I've only been to the Fountain of Immortality. I don't dare to go deeper into the island. In other words, you've never seen the so-called Pirate King's treasure? No. Qin Zhao immediately lost interest. The only thing that kept Qin Zhao asking was the treasure. If the treasure was gone, what else was there to pursue? The Fountain of Immortality? What was the benefit of turning into Hanks? He might as well just die. However, Qin Zhao was more interested in the man. First, he knew the location of the island. Second, he was related to Fanity. Moreover, he was a psychic. At least he knew how to use blessing magic. This person might be Fanity's team member. He already knew Qin Zhao, or he'd gotten information about Qin Zhao from Fanity. But why did he want to trick him to go to Treasure Island? Qin Zhao always had an idea. There are always people who want to harm me. Qin Zhao was never stingy when it came to people he didn't know or wasn't familiar with. Qin Zhao thought of the island from before. There was a large amount of demon gold stored in the cave. The demon gold had also been cursed and was filled with an ominous aura. Some of it had even ended up in Los Angeles and was stored in a safe at Citibank. Suddenly, Qin Zhao thought of a question. Who stored the cursed demon gold in the bank? Could it be the person who lured him to Treasure Island? Qin Zhao didn't want to be led by the nose anymore. So, he decided not to go to Treasure Island this time. If he could, he should show himself. Otherwise, he wouldn't go even if he was beaten to death. Qin Zhao didn't like this feeling. The feeling of being kept in the dark about everything. Moreover, there was a hand scheming and controlling him behind the scenes. If he could come out, Qin Zhao would twist his head off and use it as a toilet. Does that person have any special characteristics? Like age, looks, voice, height, and so on? I remember, but how should I tell you? There were only two possibilities for that person to lure him to Treasure Island. One was that he wanted to harm him. The most likely possibility was that the person was his enemy. The other possibility was that he wanted to get something from Treasure Island, but he couldn't do it with his own power. So, Qin Zhao had to pave the way for him. This was also the most likely possibility. Chapter 1107. Darling, are you going to Treasure Island? Fei Lai had an urge to give it a try. I don't think so, Qin Zhao said. I see. Fei Lai's face was filled with disappointment. You want to go? You decide. I won't force you. Fei Lai's eyes flickered. She clearly wanted to go, but she just wouldn't tell the truth. We'll talk about it after you give birth, Qin Zhao said. Really? Then we'll go together after I give birth? Fei Lai was instantly energized. Okay. Fei Lai rarely made requests of Qin Zhao. Every time she did, Qin Zhao didn't know how to reject her. He knew it was a trap, but he still jumped into it. Oh, I have a party this weekend. I need to drive your car. Evely said that she could drive a car to her house, but Qin Zhao still decided to drive his family's car. What party? My student Evely wants me to be her partner. Fei Lai wouldn't be like other women who would make a fuss when they heard that another woman wanted to be Qin Zhao's partner. Since Qin Zhao was willing to share this with her, she would naturally believe him. Come back early tonight. Oh, dress neatly. Don't embarrass our family. It was a party, but Qin Zhao still couldn't get excited. Sunday arrived. Qin Zhao didn't leave until after lunch. Today he wore a black suit and a white shirt with an open jacket. He was too lazy to tie a bow. Qin Zhao's outfit wasn't much more formal than usual. However, Qin Zhao had a good figure. He was 1.8 meters tall, which was a standard height. Plus, his body was well defined. After kissing Fei Lai goodbye, Qin Zhao drove out. It was Qin Zhao's first time at Evely's house. Evely wasn't a local. She lived in a small villa in Beverly Hills. It wasn't big, but the environment was nice. Qin Zhao parked his car at the door and honked. Evely stuck her head out of the window and looked at Qin Zhao. "Qin, wait for me for 20 minutes. Evely had said that she would wait 20 minutes, but Qin Zhao had waited for an entire hour. He had to admit that Evely was especially eye-catching after dressing up. Evely was going for the sexy route today. Her fiery red lips weren't something every woman could handle. Her long hair draped over her shoulders, paired with a white V-neck low-cut shirt. The long dress that showed off her long legs made her look even sexier. Qin Zhao opened the door for Evely like a gentleman. "Qin, didn't you say you weren't going to drive today?" "I suddenly want to drive again today," Qin Zhao answered casually. "Is your car a hardtop?" "Yeah, what's wrong? Is this the car Miss Feilai usually drives?" "Yes." "You should buy her a convertible." "Why?" "Every time a woman goes out after dressing up, she not only hopes to enjoy the scenery along the way, but also hopes to attract more attention. You don't understand the psychology of women at all. Okay, do you have any car models and brands to recommend?" "If you don't consider the price, of course a top sports car is the best," Evely said. Evely said, "But most of the models are geared towards men. For example, their engines are powerful and the models are more streamlined. They lack the gentleness of women. The internal facilities are also geared towards men, which is extremely unfriendly to women. So, if you want to choose a model that suits women. I recommend the latest model of the Porsche 911. As everyone knows, the Porsche 911 is the most classic model of Porsche. Last year's latest model, the 911 convertible series, also combined many modern elements. There's also a model specially designed for women. Even with the best equipment, the price is less than $800,000. You can definitely afford it." "I'll go to the store when I'm free," Qin Zhao said. It was Li Qiong's first time at a party like this, so she couldn't help but be a bit reserved. The manor was unbelievably luxurious. Just the parking lot was the size of a football field. This was unimaginable in Los Angeles, where every inch of land was worth its weight in gold. The number of luxury cars parked in the parking lot was overwhelming. Max had a serious expression on his face as well. "Max, you look a little nervous." "Of course I'm nervous. 90% of the guests here are in high positions." Just then, a voice came from behind them. "Hi Max, you're here too." Max turned around and realized that it was his boss. "Hello, Mr. Andrews." "Hello, is this beautiful lady your girlfriend?" "Yes." "Okay, I'm really disappointed that I missed such a beautiful lady. I'm leaving now. Have fun." After Andrews left, Li Qiong asked, "Is that your colleague?" "He's my boss, a client manager. All the clients he handles are worth tens of millions." "What's a client manager like him responsible for?" "He mainly manages his clients' assets, but he also helps them with their finances and investments," Max said. Max said, "Take Mr. Andrews for example. He has 6 or 7 clients with assets worth tens of millions of dollars. If a client needs to buy something such as a house, land, or a yacht, he will come forward to negotiate with the seller and help the client get the best price. Then he will get a commission of 10% or more from the discount he helped the client get." "What do you manage in the company?" Li Qiong asked curiously. "I'm in charge of credit cards," Max said. "Mainly high-class clients, those with assets of around $1 million US. Li Qiong silently memorized Max's words. She was also ambitious and wanted to achieve something in her career. Although her family was considered wealthy, and her parents opened a fireworks supermarket, which also earned a considerable amount of income. But that wasn't the life she wanted. The education she received, coupled with the strong sense of feminism in the United States of America, was very good. Li Qiong was also influenced. She also dreamed of becoming a strong woman in movies and TV shows one day. But she was rejected time and time again. She was a little disheartened. Just then 2 people walked over from behind. Li Qiong walked past them. Li Qiong looked up. It was Qin Zhao. Why was he here? Was he here to attend the party too? Qin Zhao. Qin Zhao turned around and saw Li Qiong and Max. "Li Qiong, why are you here?" Chapter 1108. "Evely, it's you?" Max suddenly realized that Evely had come with Qin Zhao. He knew that Evely was the spokesperson of Citibank. She had signed a 3-year contract with $80 million. However, he didn't expect Evely to come to the party. What was even more unexpected was that Qin Zhao was Evely's boyfriend. Li Qiong was also very shocked. Of course she knew Evely. Almost everyone in the world who didn't know Evely was dead. There was probably no one who didn't know Evely. Hello, Evely replied indifferently. Is Evely your girlfriend? Li Qiong asked curiously. Evely held Qin Zhao's arm. Qin Zhao shook his head. No, she's my student. Li Qiong really didn't expect the world-famous swimming legend to be Qin Zhao's student. Qin, let's go in. Li Qiong will go in first. Okay. Bye. Looking at Qin Zhao and Evely's backs, Li Qiong was a bit disappointed. Your classmate has such a powerful background, Max murmured. He probably only came to this party because of Evely, Li Qiong said, a bit upset. But it's enough to have a student like her, Max said enviously. Who was Evely? She was a legend in the world of sports. With such a student, it meant that fame and fortune would be in his hands. Qualifications were important everywhere. You could go to any company for an interview. In addition to having a good education background, it was also very important to have work experience. If you could record that a famous person was your student in your resume, the value of the resume would increase greatly. No company could ignore the celebrity effect of a resume. It's so big, Li Qiong exclaimed. The place was really bigger than she'd imagined. Therefore, if one didn't have enough imagination, it was impossible to imagine what kind of life the rich lived. Do you see that woman over there? Max pointed at a beautiful woman surrounded by a group of women in the distance. Yes. What's wrong with her? Li Qiong didn't know the woman, but she recognized the earrings on her ear. The earrings came from a limited edition Chanel handbag, and that limited edition handbag was worth $750,000. Li Qiong did not have that much money, but like most women she advocated and pursued luxury goods. Therefore he liked to read those fashion magazines. Go and meet her. She's the owner of this place, Amira. Li Qiong gasped. That woman was about the same age as her, but she was the owner of the manor. She's the daughter of the major shareholder of Citibank's board of directors, and the only heir of the billionaire Depp. This kind of party was a place for the upper class to socialize and network. Therefore, the people here would do everything possible to get to know some upper-class people and expand their connections. Li Qiong took a deep breath, picked up a glass of wine from the servant, and was about to walk towards Amira. But at that moment, Amelia headed in another direction. Li Qiong also turned around and followed them. Just then, Li Qiong realized that Amira was walking toward Qin Zhao and Evely. She was probably going after Evely. This was good, Li Qiong thought. She could get close to Qin Zhao first and then wait for Amira to come over herself. Qin Zhao. Li Qiong walked toward Qin Zhao and Evely. Li Qiong, you're developing with Mr. Max pretty fast, Qin Zhao said, smiling. We're not deep, Li Qiong explained. I'm only his temporary companion today. Qin, aren't you going to introduce this lady to me? Evely asked. My high school classmate Qiong. Li, hello Ms. Evely. Hello Ms. Evely. Just then Amira walked over. Hi Mr. Qin. Amira was dressed rather dignified and sexy today. Her dress was also made of sparkling pink scales. She looked rather noble and elegant. Hi Amira. Are you here for the party too? Mr. Qin, I'm the owner of this party. Amira rubbed her forehead. This is your house? Qin Zhao asked, surprised. I don't know at all. Li Qiong realized that Qin Zhao actually knew everyone. He also seemed to be very close to Amira. The two chatted casually as if they were friends. Last time I asked Andrews to send you a message to invite you to the party, but you didn't reply at all. Now you're here yourself, Amira complained. Ms. Amira, don't blame Qin, Evely said. He's here as my shield today. Oh Mr. Qin, do you know Ms. Evely? She's my student. I didn't expect us to be so fated, Amira said, smiling. Qin Zhao thought to himself, what kind of fate is this? Oh, the shoreline you bought from me last time seems to be under construction. I wanted to introduce you to an engineering company. Qin, you bought a shoreline? Can I swim on your beach in the future? Sure, as long as you're not afraid of the sharks in the water, Qin Zhao said. Li Qiong was a bit dazed. Her high school classmate's wealth was far greater than she'd imagined. He actually bought the entire shoreline? Mr. Qin, have you considered selling your Mirror Lake mansion? I want to buy it, Amira said. Sorry, no. I still want to live there. But you're going to move there after the mansion is built, right? I plan to switch places. I'll live by the beach in summer and autumn, and at Mirror Lake in spring and winter. Li Qiong was a bit dazed. Just how rich was her high school classmate? When she'd first met him, he seemed to be driving that truck. At the time, Li Qiong had thought that Qin Zhao was just an ordinary teacher. But every time she saw him, she seemed to have a new understanding of him. What a pity. Such a good place. Amira was a bit disappointed. She'd been to Qinzhao's Mirror Lake mansion before. She really liked the place. She'd searched all over Los Angeles but really couldn't find such a good place. There were mountains, rivers, and lakes. The scenery was amazing and the air was fresh. The temperature was also more stable and pleasant than in Los Angeles. She'd thought that Qinzhao would move after the mansion was built. Chapter 1109. Suddenly, Li Qiong was a little jealous. She had lived in this country for more than a decade, but she couldn't compare to Qinzhao at all. Qinzhao had only been here for a year or so. In the past, Li Qiong felt quite good about herself. She had never been anxious about not finding a job. She felt that she had enough capital to slowly search for it. In any case, if he were to pick and choose, he would definitely find a satisfactory job. But now she felt a sense of oppression. He didn't even have a job now. However, this once unremarkable high school classmate had already surpassed him in all aspects. She was unable to adapt to such a huge difference. Qinzhao and Amira chatted happily, but Li Qiong felt out of place. Just then Andrews walked over and greeted them. Miss Amira, Mr. Qin, Miss Evely. Andrews basically knew all the money in and out of Qinzhao's bank account. While he was amazed at Qinzhao's ability to spend money, he was also amazed at Qinzhao's ability to earn money. Especially in the past few days, tens of millions of USD had entered the account. Of course, Qinzhao's spending power was also quite strong. Andrews even felt his heart ache. Qinzhao hadn't used his credit card yet. If Qinzhao used a credit card, his spending limit would definitely be a black card. Moreover, as Andrews' client, he could take a large portion of Qinzhao's commission. Unfortunately, he had too much money. He didn't need credit cards at all. This also made Andrews feel very stifled. But Qinzhao was rich. What could he say? After all, even billion-dollar companies might not have more cash than Qinzhao. With Qinzhao's wealth, it would be easy for him to borrow a few $100 million from the bank. But Qinzhao didn't need it at all. He used as much money as he had. He didn't like to borrow money from the bank. His consumption concept was similar to that of his countrymen. This was also what made Andrews most depressed. If he could think of a way to get Qinzhao to borrow a few $100 million, Andrews would probably wake up laughing even in his dreams. At Qinzhao's level of wealth, he had many high-quality assets under his name. They were all easily converted into cash. They are very welcome customers of the bank. Even if the customer did not want to borrow money, the bank would find ways to make the customer borrow money. In short, a customer who doesn't lend money isn't a good customer. Only customers who owed the bank money were the most welcome customers of the bank. Mr. Qin, Andrews asked, SU's yacht manufacturer is holding an exhibition in LA. Are you interested in going? I already have a yacht at home, Qinzhao said. I usually leave it at my house and don't really use it. Li Qiong was standing next to them. She felt that if she continued to listen to their conversation, she would only feel more depressed. She even wondered if she should think of a way to poach Qinzhao over. This kind of man who had the looks, the family background, and the education background, could not be found even with a lantern. If Qinzhao could become her man, she wouldn't have to struggle anymore. Or she could let Qinzhao pay for her company. By the way, Mr. Qin, I know a company that develops smart management systems. They're currently promoting a brand new smart butler system. Do you need it? How much is it? About $10 million? How much is the actual price? I can say around $8 million, Andrews said. That's still too expensive. The butler system I'm using now is only a few $100,000. It has all the basic functions. Does the company's butler system have any extra functions? The functionality of this system is definitely better than a system that costs hundreds of thousands of dollars. It is also connected to 2 satellites, including a weather satellite and a surveillance satellite. It can automatically identify the identity of anyone who enters the manor. If an unknown person approaches, it will alert the owner directly. If it is a wanted criminal or dangerous person, it will call the police directly, Andrews said. This system can greatly increase the safety of the family. Then what if I have a friend who can't see the light of day and he comes to my house as a guest? The system will call the police too? Andrews obviously knew what Qinzhao meant. As long as the owner approves, the system won't call the police randomly. Then the surveillance satellite will continuously take pictures of my home and territory? Yes. Then how can my privacy be guaranteed? Only you can download and view all the pictures taken by the surveillance satellite. Even the developer of the system can't see them. This company advocates an efficient and high-quality customer experience. Every customer has a security lock. Without the password, even the company and the owner of the satellite can't see the content. What's this security lock? Qin Zhao asked, confused. Only the experts in this field can answer. It's a high-grade ASL security protocol. On the side, Li Qiong finally heard a topic that she could join in on. This ASL security protocol is an agreement between humans and computers. The computer program is already loaded with the ASL security protocol, so no third party can bypass the computer and open the private content. Only the security lock of the security protocol can open it. It's not the first choice for mainstream AI housekeeping systems right now because it's too strict. If there's an accident, even the police can't access the content. Plus, it's expensive, so most AI housekeeping systems use the common UB security protocol. This security lock is worth over $3 million. The security lock that Mr. Andrews mentioned should be the ASL security protocol. Qin Zhao didn't understand Li Qiong's professional terms, but he got the general idea. So, other than me, no one can see my privacy? Yes. Li Qiong nodded. Qin Zhao, if your new house is big enough, a normal AI housekeeper won't be able to handle it, so you have to choose a new AI housekeeper. This is the trend of the new era. You know a lot about this? Qin Zhao was a bit surprised. In his impression, Li Qiong had always been a pretty woman. He didn't think that she would be so knowledgeable when it came to computers. That's what I learned in university. Will the operation of this AI housekeeper be complicated? Chapter 11:10. Is it complicated to install and debug the system? Qin Zhao asked. The company is responsible for installing the system, but the customer has to find someone from another company for debugging and inspection. What? That's too inconsiderate. That company installed and debugged the system last time. This company wants to ensure that their engineers don't install backdoors, and also to ensure the privacy of their customers. That's why they completely exclude themselves when it comes to debugging, Andrews said. Qin Zhao, if you need it, Li Qiong said. I can take this job. How much do you charge? Qin Zhao asked. Li Qiong was about to say no, but Andrews said, usually the debugging fee is around 5% of the system's value. Sure. Qin Zhao and Li Qiong weren't familiar with each other. If Li Qiong wanted to debug for him for free, he would feel awkward. But if she had to pay, he would feel better. Andrews, reserve a system for me. You can help me negotiate the price. After hearing that the trial fee was so high, it was difficult for Li Qiong to say no to the reward. According to Andrews, the system was worth $10 million. Even if the final price was $1 or $2 million less, it would still be a few $100,000. To Li Qiong, a few $100,000 was an astronomical figure. It was almost impossible for her to find a job with an annual salary of $100,000. But if she could complete the debugging, she could earn a few $100,000. How many $100,000 could a person earn in their lifetime? But the construction of the house has just started. It'll be at least a few months later. I'll contact you after it's done. Okay. Li Qiong nodded. To be honest, it was an eye-opener for her today. In the past, she'd only seen multi-million-dollar deals in movies and TV shows. But in reality, Qin Zhao only needed to think about it for a while before deciding to buy it. Qin, I feel like I'm the one who gave you this butler system, Evely said teasingly. I only paid you $10 million. That doesn't count. I took 10 days. Plus, I think you'll earn more. Li Qiong already had a certain understanding of Qin Zhao's wealth. But when she heard that Qin Zhao had earned $10 million in 10 days, she still found it unbelievable. He probably wouldn't be able to earn that much money in his entire life, but Qin Zhao seemed to be able to earn it easily. It was truly infuriating to compare oneself to others. Andrews had the same idea. He had worked so hard to negotiate and help Qin Zhao lower the price. Then he would take a cut, but it wasn't even 10 days of Qin Zhao's income. Mr. Qin, are you interested in buying an island now? Amira asked. I don't even have $20 million in my bank account. I can't afford it. If you want, I can transfer a loan under $1 billion to your account as long as you say it. $1 billion? I'd be crazy to buy it. Qin Zhao rolled his eyes. Actually, you can choose from cheap islands that only cost a few million USD or even a few $100,000. Of course, there are also expensive ones that cost tens of millions or hundreds of millions of USD. If I want to buy, I will buy the best. When I have a few $100 million, I will buy an island. An island that is worth a few million USD is not even 2 square kilometers. If I build a house on such an island, I will occupy the entire land. Oh, Mr. Qin, Amira said. I have a business that I need your help with. Are you interested? What's it about? Qin Zhao could hear that Amira's tone was a bit repressed. He couldn't help but look up at her. Guys, can you give Mr. Chen and me some private space? The people around her left tactfully. Li Qiong glanced at them a few more times. She was curious about what business Amira wanted to discuss with Chen Zhao. To her, it was most likely a huge deal. There was no one else around, but Amira still lowered his voice and said, "My father bought a piece of land in Abilene, Kansas. It's going to be used to build a factory, but the construction stopped because of an accident." What accident? A hole was dug in the construction site, and on the first night, 4 workers mysteriously disappeared. Other workers said that a monster came out of the hole and dragged the workers into the hole. Then 2 similar incidents happened. What kind of monster? Are there any pictures? No, but according to the 2 workers, the monster looked like a dog, but it was really big. It was 6 to 7 meters long, Amira said seriously. Amira said solemnly, "So far, 6 workers have gone missing, and my father has paid at least 20 million USD as compensation. Then there must be a local search team, right? Didn't they enter the hole to search?" A search and rescue team of 8 people went into the cave, but they never came out. Qin Zhao narrowed his eyes. "So you want me to help you solve this problem?" "Not me," Amira said. "It's my father." "What about the payment?" "I can pay you 10 million in advance. If you can solve the problem, I'll pay you another 20 million. Qin Zhao had to admit that he was tempted. Just as Qin Zhao was hesitating, Amira said, "It's after-tax income." Amira thought that Qin Zhao was worried about taxes. After all, such income had to be taxed at 45%. Qin Zhao thought about it and nodded. "Is it urgent?" "Currently, my father's land project has stopped. He loses millions of dollars every day. He's worried too." "Okay, I accept," Qin Zhao said. "When do we leave?" "It's best if we can leave in 1 or 2 days." "Sure," Qin Zhao said. "I'll arrange it and leave the day after tomorrow." "Okay, it's settled. Also, do you need me to prepare anything?" "Don't let anyone else near the construction site. I don't like people disturbing me when I'm working." "Of course I'll tell my father." This was actually Amira's personal decision. She felt that Qin Zhao was the person who could solve this problem. She still needed to talk to her father. "Oh, I'll go with you. If you want to go into the hole with me, then forget it. I don't want to protect you in an unknown situation." Chapter 11:11. Amelia cherished her own life very much. She hadn't enjoyed her life enough yet. Was she going to risk her life with Qin Zhao? Qin Zhao was earning money from risking his life. Of course the fees were high. However, it wasn't easy to find a big client like Amira. Qin Zhao couldn't meet one every day. Qin Zhao hoped that these rich people would run into big trouble every day. Only then would he be able to use his skills. Li Qiong had been observing Qin Zhao and Amira. Although he didn't know the specific content of their conversation, he could tell that the outcome of their conversation should be satisfactory to both sides. "Mr. Qin, are you staying for dinner? I have a show here tonight." Qin Zhao rolled his eyes. "I can't watch shows. I'll be happier if you arrange a striptease show for me." Amira was helpless. She'd rather help Qin Zhao buy a striptease bar than have a striptease show in her own manner. In the evening, Evely left with Qin Zhao. "Evely, I have something on the day after tomorrow. I'll have to stop training for 2 days." "Okay, as long as you make up for the time." After sending Evely to her house, Qin Zhao went to a car shop. Car shops in America usually had a larger space. There were more than 100 cars in the parking lot. These cars were all very cheap. Some could be bought for $2,000 or $3,000. The frequency of Americans changing cars was relatively high. Some people would sell a car to a car shop after driving it for a period of time and then get a new car. Of course, new cars were also sold here. But relatively speaking, it was more worthwhile to buy a used car than a new one. Car shops like this usually had a track where customers could test their cars. Qin Zhao entered the car shop. The showroom was filled with new cars. Only new cars would be displayed here. An old man walked over slowly. "Hi, how can I help you? Are the cars here the ones in your shop? What model and brand do you want?" The old man asked. "Porsche 911. Because the Porsche 911 was a classic model, many car shops had it. There's a used car outside. Do you want it? It's only $50,000. Qin Zhao shook his head. After all, it was for Feilai. He still wanted to buy a new car. Moreover, Qin Zhao wanted to buy a top-end Porsche 911 that cost $50,000. It was either an old model or had a range of more than 100,000 kilometers. "If you want a new car, you can pay a deposit first and I can order it for you." Qin Zhao refused. It was troublesome to order cars from American car shops. Some shops would even cheat Chinese people by delaying the purchase of a car for a few months. Some even bought an old, refurbished car. Qin Zhao didn't want to be a fool, so he rejected the old man and left. Qin Zhao used the navigation to search for a Porsche store. Compared to the previous car dealership, this Porsche store was much more professional. However, this was to be expected. After all, the customer base was different. The salesperson was a very beautiful woman. She reminded Qin Zhao of Paris. "Sir, how can I help you? Do you have a Porsche 911? The latest model?" Qin Zhao asked. "Of course, this way please." The saleswoman led him through the showroom for a while and stopped before a dark blue metallic sports car. When Qin Zhao saw the car, he immediately remembered it. It was the same color. The deep yet elegant color and the gentle lines of the car were very much in line with Qin Zhao's ideal car model. "Is it convertible or hardtop?" Qin Zhao asked. "Convertible." The beautiful saleswoman began to talk about the car's performance and various hardware components in an endless stream. Qin Zhao kept nodding. After all, he'd been driving for a year. He could basically understand the gist of it. The saleswoman emphasized the differences between the car and the old model. Of course, it wasn't just the functions. The price was also different. As the saleswoman introduced the car, she studied Qin Zhao's expression. "What's the top-end price?" Qin Zhao asked. "About $850,000. You have to choose the specific interior. If I want you to send it to my home, will you help me?" "Sir, do you want us to send it to China?" "No, my home is in Los Angeles," Qin Zhao said. "But this car is for my girlfriend," Qin Zhao said. "I hope you can wrap it in a huge gift box and send it to my house. I hope my girlfriend can open it herself." The saleswoman stared at Qin Zhao with stars in her eyes. Qin Zhao turned his head and looked at the metallic gray car beside him. "What model is this?" "This is a Porsche 918. The lowest price is $1.53 million and the top end is $1.75 million. Do you have this car in any other color? Silver gray, deep red, sapphire blue, metallic blue?" The saleswoman listed more than 10 colors in a row. This car was almost twice as expensive as the previous Porsche 911. However, it was rare for Qin Zhao to like a car. "I want this car too." Then what about the Porsche 911? "I want it too," Qin Zhao said. "But I want the black one. We don't have it in our store, but we can get it from other stores." "Okay. Send 2 cars to this address tomorrow at noon." "No problem, sir." Joy was written all over the saleswoman's face. Selling 2 cars at once was equivalent to half a year of her income. "Sir, how do you want to pay?" "Card, cash," Qin Zhao said. "Do you have a bank in mind?" "I don't need a loan. Full payment." The beautiful salesperson almost choked on her breath. $2 million and he paid in full? Where did this rich guy come from? When Qin Zhao came out, there was a phone number in his pocket. The saleswoman stood at the door and waved her hand vigorously. "My Prince Charming, you must remember to call me." When Qin Zhao's car disappeared from her sight, the saleswoman gritted her teeth and muttered to herself, "I wonder which bitch beat me to it." When Qin Zhao returned home, it was already past 7 at night. "Fei Lai, you haven't eaten yet?" "Waiting for you," Fei Lai said. "You have a baby in your stomach. Don't starve yourself." "I'm not hungry." Qin Zhao had the underlings prepare dinner. At the same time, he said to Fei Lai, "Fei Lai, do you want to go to Abilene the day after tomorrow?" Chapter 11:12. "I have work there," Qin Zhao said. "I also feel like I've been going out a lot lately, so if you want, we can go play there for a few days." Fei Lai understood what Qin Zhao was thinking. Qin Zhao felt that it would be inconvenient for her to go anywhere since she was pregnant. She also felt uncomfortable going out too often. "Darling, we should be more honest with each other. I don't think it's a big deal." "Okay." Qin Zhao stroked Fei Lai's hair. That was indeed what he was thinking. That was why he invited Fei Lai to Abilene. "What work is there this time?" "A billionaire bought a piece of land and caused some accidents. I'm going to solve the problem." "Then his price shouldn't be low, right?" "Very high," Qin Zhao said. "Remember to bring me a present." "Of course." The next day Fei Lai was soaking in the water. After entering February, the temperature had risen a few degrees. The temperature of Mirror Lake was just right, so Fei Lai had been soaking every day. Little Jerlin was just half a year old. She could already jump onto the round rock in the middle of the lake. Just then Fei Lai saw a large truck arrive at the door. Fei Lai called out to the villa, but there was no response. Fei Lai saw the transport workers unloading 2 large boxes from the truck. Fei Lai carried Jerlin to the shore and draped a towel over her. "Hello, what's the delivery?" Fei Lai asked one of the workers. Hello, you must be Miss Fei Lai. A woman walked up. She looked Fei Lai up and down. The first thing she saw was Fei Lai's bulging stomach. He felt indignant in his heart, but he still maintained a professional smile on his face. These are the things that Mr. Chen bought in our shop yesterday. Please sign here. Oh. Fei Lai signed the shipping receipt. Miss Fei Lai, you have to open it yourself. How do I open it? Fei Lai looked at the huge box in front of her, feeling helpless. Just unlatch the lock on this side. Fei Lai unlocked the lock, and the lid of the box opened up like flower petals. A new metallic dark blue Porsche 911 was revealed inside. Fei Lai took a deep breath. She was amazed. That was Fei Lai's first thought. Just then Qin Zhao walked out of the house. Fei Lai, we've been together for a year now. This time last year I gave you a car. This year I'll give you another one. Do you like it? Fei Lai jumped into his arms and kissed him deeply. The accompanying saleswoman had a look of jealousy on her face as she cursed the vixen in her heart. However, when she looked at the villa in front of her, why wasn't this man hers? Gifting a car for a year was really extravagant. Chen, I really like it. Fei Lai liked it very much. She couldn't wait to sit in the car and try it out. However, her gaze fell on the other box. Where's the other box? I bought it for myself, Qin Zhao said. Of course, if you like that one you can drive it. Fei Lai went forward to open the box. She was also amazed by what she saw. These two Porsche sports cars were classic models. A Fate was the new mayor of Mountain Town. Qin Zhao had seen the new mayor once. Many people in the town can't find a job now, and A Fate once promised that if he became the mayor, he would reopen the brewery to provide more jobs for the residents of Mountain Town, but he broke his promise. He borrowed $200 million from the bank in the town's name, wanting to start farming, but he completely ignored the fact that the town's land isn't suitable for growing crops. Now he has lost almost all of the $200 million. Chapter 11-13. Qin Zhao did notice that the town wasn't doing too well recently. The unemployment rate was as high as 20%. It was a terrifying number. In the past, many people relied on the brewery to work and live. Plus, the one-stop sales and transportation took up a lot of jobs. Ever since the brewery had caught fire, there had been a lot of calls to rebuild it. Back then, the new mayor, A Fate, had proposed to rebuild the brewery. That was how he obtained the support of the townspeople and defeated his competitors. But after A Fate took office, he didn't keep his promise. He actually wanted to do agriculture and borrowed a huge loan from the bank. A total of $200 million. How much was $200 million? The value of agriculture in Los Angeles was around this amount. But A Fate actually used $200 million on agriculture in Mountain Town. Of course, he also knew that the land in Mountain Town wasn't suitable for growing crops. The salinity of the land was too high. Therefore, a large portion of the $200 million was used to treat the land. But reality proved that A Fate was too naive. The salinity of the land in Mountain Town was much higher than he'd expected. He'd invested a large amount of money to treat the land. Then the crops would all die after a few days. After retesting, he found that the deep soil had high salinity too. To completely treat it, he didn't need $200 million but $2 billion. $200 million was enough to treat a few hundred acres of land. How many crops could he grow? It would probably take a few hundred years to pay off the loan with a few hundred acres of land. In the end, he angered the bank. Then, a large amount of the town's land was forcefully expropriated by the bank. Now, half of the land in Mountain Town was in the bank's hands. Under normal circumstances, it wouldn't matter to the townspeople whose hands the land was in. But if it was in the bank's hands, it would be a serious problem. The bank could sell it to whoever it wanted. If it was Qin Zhao who bought the land to build a house or treat it as his backyard, it would be fine. But if it was sold to a chemical factory, the townspeople would probably want to die. The bank didn't care if the townspeople objected or not. To them, they would sell to whoever offered the highest price. In America, it was difficult to get approval from the local government for the construction of chemical factories. Therefore, many chemical factories were built in remote areas. But now, the town government still owed a large amount of money. If they wanted to object, they had to consider the bank's attitude. But this had nothing to do with Qin Zhao. He didn't rely on anyone in town to earn money anyway. Plus, Qin Zhao had a green card, so he had no right to object to the new mayor. Anyway, the new mayor was chosen by them. A sin committed by heaven could be forgiven, but a sin committed by oneself could not be avoided. The new mayor, who had high standards but low abilities, indeed had no management skills. His campaign slogan was louder than anyone else's: eliminate unemployment. As a result, after he took office, the unemployment rate broke historical records. Occasionally, Qin Zhao would pass by the entrance of the town government. He could see people blocking the office building and protesting, asking a fate to step down. Qin Zhao was considered half an outsider here. He didn't even have the right to vote. Other than supporting Dion Sloat verbally, he couldn't influence the town's voting. I've already arranged for people to spread the news in the town. Why don't you let me come back and continue being the mayor? Dion Sloat said. Qin Zhao glanced at Dion. He was indeed an old fox. This method was many times more advanced than that of the new mayor. In the past, Dean Sloat did not have a good reputation. But he had indeed done a lot of practical things. Putting aside Dion Sloat's moral character, at least his ability was there for all to see. Qin, what if I say that I hope you can invest in a beer factory? What would you think? Dion Sloat asked in a testing manner. Qin Zhao really did not expect Dion to make such a request. After all, Qin Zhao had no concept of operating a brewery. He didn't know how to manage it either. Qin, in the past, when the brewery was still here, its sales were always good in the LA area. It made millions of dollars every year and the sales were stable. Plus, the sales didn't disappear. I still have the contact information of the distributors, so it's easier to open up a market than a new brand. Mr. Sloat, I really don't plan on doing this. Qin Zhao had always kept his distance from businesses he was unfamiliar with. Because he was unfamiliar with them, he was worried about losing money. Also, managing a company was very complicated. Qin Zhao did not want to tie himself down because of this. Qin, if you're afraid that you don't know how to manage it, you can leave it to a professional manager. Plus, your old friend Bant is an old employee of the brewery. He's passed down the taste of wheat beer. Because of this skill, he's always been the brewery's unobtainable taster. How much do I need to invest to rebuild the brewery? Qin Zhao asked. At least $5 million. Qin Zhao could afford $5 million. But this was an investment, not a game. Especially when it was a business that he was unfamiliar with. I can't answer your question right now. I need to think about it. Okay, I'll wait for your good news. Qin Zhao had a rough idea of Dion Sloat's plan. He wanted to rely on his own investment to build a brewery, and then gain a wave of popularity and rise back to the top. But this also meant that Qin Zhao's interests in Mountain Town were tied to Sloat's. Qin Zhao did not know if Sloat had suddenly thought of this or if he had planned it for a long time. But if the conditions were right, Qin Zhao would rather work with Sloat than an idiot like a fate. Sloat knew that he should stop here, so he did not continue pestering Qin Zhao. After Fei Lai and Azina came out of the supermarket, he left. Fei Lai, let's go to Bant's house for lunch. Sure. Qin Zhao took out his phone. Bant, are you home? I'm here. Qin, what? Do you want to come? Fei Lai and I are too lazy to cook, so we plan to go to your house for lunch. You won't reject us, right? Come quickly. I've been home alone for 2 weeks. Mary and Ken are both busy and don't have time to come back. I eat alone every day. It's great that you guys can come and eat with me. Bant was very welcoming of Qin Zhao's family. We came empty-handed this time. We didn't bring any gifts. I hope you guys don't bring anything. You always bring gifts. I have to prepare gifts every time I go. It's so troublesome. Bant was very straightforward and said whatever he wanted. Chapter 11:14. When Qin Zhao and Fei Lai arrived at Bant's house, they realized that Bant had even brought out the oven. He even brought the wheat beer he brewed himself. Since Fei Lai couldn't drink, she drove. Qin Zhao didn't have to care and started drinking with Bant. Bant, Qin Zhao said. Dean Sloat asked me to invest in rebuilding the brewery. Fei Lai heard Qin Zhao's words, but she didn't interrupt as if it had nothing to do with her. Anyway, Qin Zhao would talk to her again when he got home. Bant, who'd been quite talkative, suddenly fell silent. He finished the beer in his glass in one gulp. After a while he asked, "Did you agree?" "I'm not sure. I'm not familiar with the brewery's profits, but I also want to hear your suggestion." Bant was definitely more familiar with the brewery than Qin Zhao, so Qin Zhao's first thought was to ask him. If it was from Bant's personal opinion, he was definitely willing to rebuild the brewery. After all, he'd been a bartender at the brewery and had his family skills. But Qin Zhao was his best friend, so he still had to tell him some things. Qin, rebuilding the brewery is a good thing, but you can't hire all the employees back. Why? There were too many employees in the brewery in the past. Sometimes one position would hire 3 or 4 positions. As long as they were residents of the town, they'd hire them unconditionally. This caused most of the employees to become slackers, Bant said. Also, many employees have dirty hands. Qin Zhao frowned. Dirty hands were a big taboo. Qin Zhao could afford the loss, but it didn't mean he was willing to keep them. Also, the accounts are messed up. Qin Zhao wasn't surprised. After all, the previous owner had messed up the accounts, which gave him an opportunity. If you want to rebuild the brewery, it's very likely to return to the chaotic situation in the past. If you hire those people again, then the bad things of the past will happen again. But if you don't, then the people in the town will gossip and say that you're a capitalist. You don't care, but Feilai and little Jerlin will be indirectly hurt. Bant stood in Qin Zhao's perspective and helped him consider many problems that Qin Zhao couldn't consider. If you're in charge, can you? Qin Zhao asked. I don't care. I'm an old face here. Those people aren't afraid of me, Bant said helplessly. So according to what you're saying, we don't need to run the winery anymore? Qin Zhao didn't care about this bit of profit as long as he didn't lose money. If he could bring benefits to the town, Qin Zhao was willing to make some contributions. However, no one would be willing to accept the fact that they invested in it, lost money, and even raised a bunch of thieves. Qin, if you want to open a brewery, you have to break away from the town. Bant said, half of the positions are filled with people from other places. As long as there's a comparison, the town's employees will be more restrained. The brewery's brand is still in the hands of the town government. The only valuable thing in the brewery was the 30-year-old logo. But the longer it dragged on, the less valuable the logo would be. Dashin Beer's trademark had disappeared from consumers' eyes for more than a year. Consumers were very forgetful. If they didn't see it for more than a year, they might even forget about the brand. Coca-Cola had done a test in the past. They stopped advertising for a month and sales fell by 80%. It didn't fall to 80%, but 80%. Of course, Dashin Beer's advertising and influence were definitely not as high as Coca-Cola's. Dashin Beer was a regional product. Its consumers were all in the LA area. In just a year, Dashin Beer's brand value had fallen by more than 50%. If it dragged on for another year, the brand's value might not even be 10%. There were too many similar products on the market that could be easily replaced. Consumers wouldn't stop buying just because they didn't have similar products. They could easily find substitutes. The town government couldn't afford to rebuild the brewery right now. According to Bant's suggestion, they could either buy the brand directly or create a brand new beer brand. If they bought the brand, the town government would definitely ask for an exorbitant price. If they built a brand, it would be difficult to expand the market. There were pros and cons to both. If they cooperated with the town government, the town would pay for the land and the brand would still belong to the town. However, they would have to feed a lot of idlers. Dean Sloat is planning to run for mayor again. He must be very anxious now. After all, your answer is very important to him, so don't answer him so quickly. You can keep him hanging for now and wait for him to agree to some of your requests. Then you can cooperate with him and try to get more benefits. Anyway, it doesn't matter to you whether you open a brewery or not, but it's different for him. If he doesn't have a bargaining chip, it'll be very difficult for him to become mayor based on his past reputation. If I open a brewery, will you help me? Qin Zhao asked. As long as you need me, I'll definitely come, Bant said. Then what about your woodworking workshop? It's fine. My old friend and I started a woodworking workshop for fun when we had nothing to do. The workshop only cost a few $1,000s and he could do it alone. The world would still spin without anyone, Bant said calmly. Besides, you might not be able to open a brewery here. By the way, did Dion Sloat take any bribes? Qin Zhao asked. Actually, Qin Zhao didn't have a bad impression of Dean. Perhaps it was because they had a personal relationship. Qin Zhao still felt that Dean wasn't as bad as the rumors in the town said. How would I know? If I had evidence, he'd be in jail long ago, Bant said disapprovingly. But I do know that he did some dishonorable things when he was the mayor. What things? Forget it, let's not talk about it. Although this guy has crossed the line, he is still very capable in terms of management. In the past, when he was the mayor, there was no big trouble in the town. Qin Zhao quite agreed with this. Compared to a year ago, the town was more stable. Chapter 11:15. According to Bant, he'd rather have corrupt officials than mediocre ones. Of course, this was also because he'd seen how much damage mediocre officials had done to the town in the past year. Qin Zhao was conflicted too. Usually, investments were for money. However, the first requirement wasn't very important to Qin Zhao. After all, a brewery had to have world-class sales and brand recognition. Otherwise, the profits were useless to Qin Zhao. On the other hand, Bant also mentioned the problem of hoodlums. For example, in the early days, some overseas Chinese invested in their hometown. Their initial goal wasn't to make money, but to make their hometown rich. However, most of these factories closed down in the end. This was because some people went to factories owned by overseas Chinese after being laid off from state-owned enterprises. However, they still had the habits of state-owned enterprises and were lazy, waiting to die. Qin Zhao wasn't related to the town's residents. The only family he knew, Bant, didn't rely on a brewery to survive. Therefore, Qin Zhao didn't consider short-term profits, but whether the price would rise in the long term. According to Bant, if the brewery was established it could survive, but it would be difficult for it to grow. On the way home, Fei Lai asked, "Qin, do you want to open a brewery?" "I'm still hesitating. Even if I do, the profits won't reach the ideal state." "I don't think so," Fei Lai said. "Did you forget about Mom's supermarket?" Qin Zhao froze. What was Mara Supermarket's most popular product now? Of course it was alcohol. Mara Supermarket's alcohol was world famous. Many tourists who visited Sacramento had to go to Marla to buy a bottle of wine. And many alcohol manufacturers hoped that Mara Supermarket would put their products on the shelves. From the world's top wine to ordinary everyday beer, it could be said that there was everything. Moreover, Mara Supermarket was also in a phase of rapid expansion. There was 1 branch in Europe and 10 branches in the US. Among the supermarket groups, Mara Supermarket was already a large chain supermarket group. There were 2 in Los Angeles alone. Although Mara Supermarket wasn't a wine appraisal agency, consumers believed that as long as it was on the shelves of Mara Supermarket, it must be good wine. In some alcohol advertisements, they even mentioned that their products were already on the shelves of Mara Supermarket. This had also created a herd mentality. Many manufacturers were proud to be a merchant in Mara Supermarket. Of course, this also caused Mara Supermarket to be very strict with alcohol products. If Qin Zhao really wanted to open a brewery, he would definitely put it on the shelves of Mara Supermarket. Winnip definitely wouldn't refuse. Qin Zhao fell into deep thought. According to Fei Lai, the brewery did have a bright future. However, he still needed to consult an expert on such matters. His own conjectures and calculations could never compare to a few words from an expert. "Dad, I found someone who can solve this problem." "Who did you find?" "A spiritualist." "Amira, why would you believe such a thing? Are you looking for a scammer?" "Of course not. I've seen his ability before." "Dad, can you trust my judgment?" "Amira, you don't have to worry about this. I've already found someone to take care of it. They're professionals." "Dad, who are you looking for?" "Mercenaries. They are the most professional mercenaries. There's nothing they can't solve." "Dad, don't you think that normal people can't solve this problem? Do you think that the spiritualist you mentioned can solve the problem? We're facing a monster now, not some supernatural event." Depp's answer was very certain. "Okay, that's it. Just do your job well." With that, Depp hung up the call with Yamala. There was another man in Depp's office. He lay on the chair opposite him lazily. He was tall and wore gold-framed glasses. "Avenger, when will your people arrive?" "We'll be there tomorrow," Avinko answered. "You can solve my problem, right?" Depp asked worriedly. "This isn't a normal attack. I saw a monster with my own eyes." "Don't worry. I remember that we were invited by the British government last time and helped them deal with the Thames River monster. We're very experienced with this." Half a year ago, Avengers' mercenary team was invited to London to investigate a strange incident in the Thames River. Someone was playing by the Thames River when he was dragged into the river. Half of the victim's body was found more than 10 kilometers upstream. After a series of investigations, it was discovered that the attacker was not human, nor was it any known creature. It was a huge mutated catfish. The catfish was 10 meters long and almost invulnerable. Normal firearms could not harm the mutated catfish at all. At that time, the British Special Forces had lured the mutated catfish to a sewage treatment plant. However, they could not kill the mutated catfish. Instead, the mutated catfish killed several Special Forces members. In the end, it was still Avengers people who acted. One of the team members threw a high-explosive bomb into the mutated catfish's mouth and killed it. It was also because of that incident that Depp got to know Avenger. So after the incident, the first person Depp thought of was Avenger. "Right, where did your team go?" Depp asked. "A man-eating shark appeared in the Hawaiian waters. It's more than 15 meters long. More than 10 fishermen have been killed. The local government hired my people to deal with it," Avenger said. "Can you make it tomorrow?" "Of course." Avenger was not worried at all. "Don't worry. When I spoke to them earlier, they already found traces of the shark. They should be able to solve it today. Avenger's answer was casual and very confident. This also gave Depp confidence. Now he only hoped that the problem could be solved quickly. After all, if the construction site could not start, then the hundreds of millions of dollars he had invested would go up in smoke. It would be a loss of millions of dollars every day. Even if he had a big business, it would still be very painful. So even though Avenger had asked for a high commission, Depp still gritted his teeth and accepted it. As long as the problem could be solved, he would rather let it end as soon as possible. Right? If I want a complete monster body, can you do that? What do you want a monster body for? It's a one-of-a-kind monster. I want to use it as a specimen and put it in my living room. Chapter 11:16. A car stopped in front of Qin Zhao's house. A man in black alighted. Mr. Qin, Miss Amira sent me to pick you up. Okay, wait a moment. Qin Zhao had just woken up and hadn't had breakfast yet. Oh, have you eaten? Thanks, but no thanks. The man was very professional. He rejected Qin Zhao's invitation with a smile. After breakfast, Qin Zhao kissed Fei Lai goodbye. Then he got into the car. Where are we going now? Airport. Miss Amira is already waiting for you on the plane. Qin Zhao boarded Amira's private plane. Amira was having breakfast on the plane. Morning, Mr. Qin. Have you had breakfast? Amira's makeup was exquisite and she had wavy blonde hair. Qin Zhao realized that Amira would change her hairstyle every time he saw her. Miss Amira, dealing with your hair too often is very harmful to your scalp. Amira lost her appetite immediately. She looked at Qin Zhao with a resentful expression. Fine, pretend I didn't say anything. Qin Zhao waved his hands and said helplessly, do all rich people like you have a private plane? With your current assets you can definitely buy one. The cost of this Gulfstream G550 plus the interior costs won't exceed $50 million. Forget it. Qin Zhao shook his head. Maintenance costs another 2 to 3 million every year. Oh, Mr. Qin, I told you before that my father's temper isn't very good. Do you remember? Amira was giving Qin Zhao a heads up. If he offends you in any way when you see him, please forgive him. Of course, Qin Zhao said with a smile. I've always been easy to talk to. Amira didn't believe that Qin Zhao was easy to talk to at all. Oh, Miss Amira, I want to ask you a question about business. Mr. Qin, are you planning to start a business? Or invest in some financial products? Sort of. Someone asked me to invest in a beer factory. Qin Zhao told her what had happened. A small brand in a place like this probably can't even make $1 million a year. Amira's analysis was very accurate. She could roughly analyze the situation and profit level from Qin Zhao's simple words. However, she was the manager of the bank after all, so this kind of ability was not surprising. Profitability is secondary. I'm thinking about whether the brewery has the potential to increase in value. Also, is there any way I can set up a brewery without letting moths into it? It's very simple. Use high benefits and high pressure policies to manage your employees. What do you mean? I don't need to explain the high benefits. The benefits you give are at least twice the pay and benefits of similar manufacturers. The high pressure policy is not to set strict management rules. Anyone who makes a mistake, even the slightest mistake, will be fired immediately. What's the difference between this and normal management? Qin Zhao was confused. A normal company's management system is flexible. For example, if someone takes a document home and forgets to bring it back, they will only get a warning from their superiors. However, high-pressure management means that even the slightest mistake will cause them to be fired. This will attract the attention of the union. If the union interferes, it'll be very troublesome. That's the problem. If the union interferes, they'll stop production. Stopping production won't affect you much, but it means unemployment for the employees, so they'll try to resume production. If there are similar problems in the future, the employees will also supervise each other. This high-pressure management doesn't have to last for too long. In 3 months, the employees will be able to form self-discipline. Qin Zhao had to admit that he had racked his brains for an entire night. To Amira, this wasn't a problem at all. This problem was easily solved. But I won't be able to help much in terms of marketing, said Amira. No need. I'll put the beer on Mara supermarket shelves, Qin Zhao said. Your brewery hasn't even started and you're confident that you can put your product on Mara supermarket shelves? Fei Lai's mother is the owner of Mara supermarket, Qin Zhao said. No wonder. After flying for 2 hours, the plane finally arrived in Abilene. Abilene was a small city in Kansas with a population of less than 120,000. There had once been a president here, Eisenhower Will. Its main income came from farming and animal husbandry. It had a certain industrial base. Abilene's airport only had domestic flights, so there were only a few people in the airport. After leaving the airport, Qin Zhao got into the car that Amira had arranged for him and went straight to the suburbs of Abilene. According to the law, some polluting projects weren't allowed to be built in densely populated areas. They had to be at least 100 kilometers away. Thus, the land that Amira's father had bought was very remote. After leaving the city, there were no buildings along the way. There were even very few cars on the road. A car might pass by every few minutes. After driving for about half an hour, Qin Zhao saw the construction site. It was a huge plain. The area within a radius of hundreds of kilometers was like this. Only the shadows of mountains could be seen in the distance. The place seemed rather desolate. As long as he opened the car window, he could smell the soil. The car stopped outside the construction site and was stopped. Amira picked up the phone. "Dad, I'm outside the construction site." "What? Why are you here? This isn't a place you should be." "Dad, I brought someone." "Oh, I told you before. Someone who can help you solve your problem. Wait at the door. I'll be right there." A while later, Depp came out with the person. Depp first glanced at Qin Zhao, who was standing beside Amira, and then at Amira. "Amira, is this the person you were talking about?" "Yes, Dad," Amira answered with certainty. "He's the person who can help you solve your problem. How much did you give him?" "I've already paid $10 million in advance. According to the agreement, you still have to pay him $20 million after this is over." Depp's face darkened, and Ivinko, who was standing beside Depp, was also shocked. "Buddy, you really dare to ask for a high price?" Ivinko grinned at Qin Zhao. Qin Zhao glanced at Ivinko and Depp, not saying anything. Amira had already warned him before. He didn't need to care about her father's words. In any case, he didn't work here to fight with Depp. Chapter 11:17. Qin Zhao glanced at Depp and then at Amira. "Dad, if you don't want to pay, I'll pay." Amira was very determined. But to Depp, his daughter had been tricked. "Kid, I don't care what method you use to get my daughter's trust, but I can tell you responsibly that if you don't return the money, I'll make sure you never have peace again." "That." Amira stood in front of Qin Zhao. "If you dare to touch my friend, I won't allow it." She was afraid that Qin Zhao and Depp would have a violent conflict. Qin Zhao didn't say anything. He didn't care how Depp doubted him. It wasn't Depp who hired him anyway. "Amira, don't you understand? This guy's a liar." "I can tell whether he's a liar or not," Amira said calmly. "Kid, then tell me how you're going to solve this problem?" "Why do I have to explain to you?" "You're not paying me," Qin Zhao said calmly. Depp was seething with anger. Just then a cloud of dust rose from the road outside. 3 jeeps came, kicking up a cloud of dust. "My people are here," Ivinko said. The jeep stopped. 8 or 9 mercenaries jumped down from the car. "Boss, how's the mission in Hawaii?" "Hawaii is beautiful," a black man with dreadlocks said. "It's my first time there. If I have the chance, I'll definitely go again." "I'm asking about your mission." "We failed," a short-haired woman with a small waist said. "Failed?" Ivinko frowned. "How did we fail?" "We injured the shark, but it escaped. We couldn't do anything in the water." "Fine." Ivinko nodded. "Let me introduce you. This is Mr. Depp, our employer this time. I hope we won't fail again." "No, we're on the ground. As long as the monster appears, it won't have a chance to escape." "That's for the best." Ivinko nodded. "When can you leave?" Depp asked. "We need to assemble the weapons first," one of the mercenaries said. "These things can't be delivered in one piece." "Dad, prepare 2 rooms for me and Qin." "No. Take this liar and leave this place immediately. I'll deal with him later." "Dad, I said he's not a liar." "I don't want to argue with you now. Get him out of here," Depp said. "I'm not leaving," Amira said firmly. "Up to you." Depp glanced at Qin Zhao, not hiding his disgust at all. "Is this guy a liar?" The mercenaries all looked at Qin Zhao. The man with dreadlocks looked at Qin Zhao and made a shooting gesture with his finger. "Bayu?" Depp led the mercenaries inside and left Qin Zhao and Yamala at the door. "Mr. Qin, what should we do now?" "There's no rush. Let's wait and see. If those mercenaries can solve the problem, you can save 20 million, right?" Qin Zhao said, unconcerned. "I'm going to sleep in the car." The mercenaries were busy reassembling the equipment. Depp walked into the room, which was originally a temporary building for the construction workers. However, there were only a few of them in the entire construction site. All the workers were on holiday because of the accident here. The construction was still far from resuming. "Guys, how's your preparation going?" "Almost. We can go now," the short-haired female mercenary said. "Boss, are you coming with us this time?" "I won't go in. I'll wait for your good news here." "Okay. Aren't you going to leave after dinner?" Depp asked. "No, we'll eat when we come back." "Oh, do you want us to help you get rid of that liar?" "I'll make him disappear forever for $10,000, the man with dreadlocks said. Depp's eyes flickered as he said, "Let's wait. Wait until this is over, then we'll settle the score with that swindler. My money isn't that easy to take. No matter how much he took, I'll make him spit it out with interest." "Be careful when you go in," Avinko said. "We don't have any exact information on that monster yet." "Got it, boss." The mercenaries all equipped themselves with various weapons. "Okay, Mr. Depp, take us to the cave." Depp brought the mercenaries to an empty space, but there was a huge and thick metal plate covering it. This metal plate weighed about 10 tons. Everyone looked at Depp. "This metal plate is to prevent the thing inside from escaping. Is it useful?" Depp shook his head. "That thing is too strong. I originally wanted to cover it with a metal plate and pour cement over it, but the result wasn't ideal. Avinko couldn't go down, so he was in charge of activating the crane and covering the metal plate. After the metal plate was lifted, a crack about 5 meters long and 3 to 4 meters wide appeared on the ground. "What's the environment like down there?" "It's about 10 meters deep, and then there's a relatively flat tunnel." "A man-made tunnel?" "No, it should be a natural crack in the ground," Depp said. "I don't know if it's deeper than that." "Danny," Avinko said, "you'll be in command after we go down. Be careful." The short-haired female mercenary nodded. The mercenaries started putting on pulleys and ropes, and then they went down one by one. When they reached the bottom of the cave, Danny waved her hand. "Prepare to enter. Everyone be on guard." The tunnel in the crack was relatively wide. Some parts were more than 2 to 3 meters wide, but the narrow parts were also very narrow. The mercenaries even had to lean sideways to pass through. "This narrow place is so small. How can the monster get through?" "Who cares how it gets through? We'll get rid of it as soon as possible and then we can drink in the city." "All of you shut up. Can't you see what's going on? Aren't you afraid that the noise will attract the monster?" Danny scolded. "It's better if it's attracted. Saves us the trouble of looking for it." "Danny, you're only the temporary leader, not the real leader." Danny glanced at her companions and didn't say anything else. Just then, Danny felt something kick under her foot. She looked down. It was a human's broken limb. Danny frowned. "Damn it." The mercenaries continued deeper, but they didn't encounter any monster attacks along the way. Just how deep is this crack in the ground? Chapter 11:18. The mercenaries walked for more than 10 minutes without encountering anything. "Damn it, how deep is this monster hiding?" "Sweetheart, come out, come to daddy." They looked back and saw the man with dreadlocks mumbling to himself. "Nandev, be careful or your son will eat you." "Ha!" Everyone laughed except for Danny, who looked serious. Although Avinko had appointed her as the leader, temporarily commanding the team. But without Avinko, no one took her words seriously. "Whoosh, what's that?" Nandev shouted. They thought Nandev was joking again. But when they looked back at Nandev, they saw a wet tongue tied to his body. When they looked up again, a giant monster with its mouth wide open had appeared above them without them noticing. The monster's mouth was wide open like a bucket, and its limbs were stuck to the rock above. But because there was no light in the cave, it was hard to notice. They were all wearing night vision goggles, and their vision was greatly obstructed. "Fire! Fire!" Danny shouted. "Da-da-da!" They immediately fired at the monster. With a flick of its tongue, the monstrous creature dragged Nandev along the rock wall and left at a rapid speed. "Save me, save me, save me!" Nandev's voice echoed in the darkness. "Go!" Danny shouted, and everyone immediately chased in the direction the troll had fled. Nandev's voice came from the depths of the cave, shouting. But soon, a scream came from the depths of the crack. It was Nandev's voice and he was obviously dead. Everyone's expression turned ugly. "Don't chase, Nandev can't be saved. Be careful and don't forget the top," Danny said in a low voice. Because one of their companions had died, everyone was in low spirits. Just then Danny saw a green liquid on the wall, glowing faintly. "It looks like the monster's blood, it's injured." Is that a man-made building? They looked up and saw a brick wall in front of the crack. However, the bricks on the wall were cracked. It should be due to the groundwork that caused the cracks to appear inside the building. The monster must have come out from this underground building. When everyone entered the crack, they found that the crack was the outer wall of an inlaid underground building. This was a ring-shaped well with a diameter of more than 30 meters. Its depth was unknown, and there was a winding staircase that extended into the depths. The top of the ring-shaped well was a thick rock formation, completely sealed off. Without the construction on the surface, the monsters here would never see the light of day. Danny took out a paintball, lit it, and threw it into the circular well. After a few seconds, the paintball fell to the bottom. At this time, everyone saw countless skeletons below. The bottom of the circular well was completely covered with bones. There were also many caves on the walls. In the middle of the pile of bones stood a copper pillar with a diameter of 1 meter. There was a very thick chain attached to the pillar, but the chain had already been broken. How many people have died here? I'm afraid there are thousands of them. This might be a cemetery of the ancient Inca civilization. It could also be an execution ground. Execution ground? Someone purposely left their enemies here to feed the monster. That monster can't eat that many people. Who cares? Let's go down and kill the monster. Our mission will be complete. We can't go down? Danny suddenly said. What? There's more than one monster, Danny said seriously. How do you know? Look at the holes below. Those holes look like the nests of those monsters. It's likely that these monsters were deliberately kept here by someone. However, for some unknown reason, this place was completely sealed off. Everyone looked at the densely packed caves and felt their scalps go numb. Then what do we do? Use the grenades, Danny said. Everyone throw the grenades down. No one dared to joke around anymore. They all took out the grenades they brought with them. The grenades weren't the kind with a strong impact. They could shoot out a large amount of phosphorus in a short period of time, which would stick to the skin and cause severe burns. In an instant, the ground below was set ablaze. Just then, a monster rushed out of the cave. The monster's body was quickly set ablaze, but it seemed fine and continued climbing the wall. It rushed to where everyone was. Everyone saw that the monster was completely set ablaze, but it was completely fine. They quickly sprayed it with their machine guns. Although this monster was immune to fire damage, bullets could still cause damage to it. The monster was riddled with holes and fell into the pit of bones. Just then, a claw reached out from the pile of bones and grabbed the dead monster. Everyone's expression changed when they saw this. There was an even bigger monster hidden in the pile of bones. But then, more monsters came out of the cave. The claw appeared again, grabbed a monster, and dragged it into the pile of bones. The other monsters were like warriors. They kept crawling out of the caves and climbed up to attack the group. Because there were too many monsters, the mercenaries' firepower wasn't enough to clear them all. Soon, one of Danny's companions was wrapped by the monster's long tongue and swallowed. Retreat, retreat. Danny made a prompt decision. They couldn't continue fighting now. Everyone escaped out of the circular well through the crack. However, the long-tongued monsters were still chasing them. They seemed to have some substance on their bodies that could keep burning. Moreover, the flames didn't harm them at all. They followed the mercenaries out of the crack. The dark crack was illuminated by the flames on their bodies. The mercenaries fought and retreated, but there were too many long-tongued monsters. Everyone had to concentrate their firepower to barely kill one of them. Another mercenary was caught by a long-tongued monster, screaming. Use high explosives. Danny shouted. We'll die first if we use high explosives in such a narrow place. I don't care anymore. Danny hurled a grenade at him. A monster with a long tongue actually wrapped itself around the high explosive bomb and swallowed it. Watch out. Everyone fell to the ground at the same time. Then there was a loud explosion. The entire crack was shaken by the explosion and rocks kept falling. A few long-tongued monsters were caught in the explosion and were blasted into pieces. Let's go. Danny saw that the long-tongued monsters had temporarily stopped chasing them. He immediately shouted and ran out frantically. Chapter 11:19. They rushed to the exit. Fortunately, they had left behind ropes just now, so they quickly climbed up the ropes. But just then the scorching heat came from below. The long-tongued monster rushed out again. Another mercenary screamed as he was pulled down the rope. Danny didn't care about friendly fire and threw a grenade down. Boom! Another long-tongued monster was killed. In the end, only 5 mercenaries managed to escape to the surface. Avenko and Depp heard the roar and came out to check the situation. Then they saw Danny and the others return. Danny, is the monster dead? No, boss. Quickly cover the metal plate. There are a lot of monsters down there, a lot of monsters. Not dead? Just then flames came from below again. Avenko frowned. He saw the long-tongued monster whose entire body was on fire. Avenko fired a few shots at the monster. It was about to climb up, but Avenko shot it back to the bottom of the cave. However, Avenko's gun did very little damage to the long-tongued monster. Mr. Depp, you'd better step back. Depp gulped and hurriedly took a few steps back. Roar! Just then a loud roar came from the depths of the crack. Everyone standing at the entrance felt the airflow change. Everyone hurriedly covered the metal plates and placed a lot of bombs at the entrance of the cave. Everyone looked nervously under the metal plate. Suddenly the metal plate flew up. It was accompanied by a loud explosion. Dust and smoke filled the entrance of the cave. Then moving flames appeared in the smoke. Fire! Fire! Avenko yelled. Roar! Accompanied by a violent roar, a huge black-skinned monster stood at the entrance of the cave. The surrounding smoke was dispersed by this loud roar. The huge monster looked like it had evolved from some crocodile. Its limbs were short and thick, but it stood upright. It was at least 8 meters long and more than 5 meters tall when it stood up. It dragged a thick tail behind it and was covered in flames. But it didn't seem to have heard of it. There was also an iron hoop and a thick broken iron chain around its neck. Its head was like a crocodile's and its belly was white. But its back was like a rock. However, its back was already red from the heat. Those long-tongued monsters looked like its larvae, and the two were somewhat similar in some characteristics. Outside the construction site, Qin Zhao and Amira were eating dinner on the roof of a car. Mr. Qin, do you hear that? Yeah, I heard it. I think they messed it up. Qin Zhao got off the roof. Qin Zhao and Amira had been waiting outside the construction site for more than 3 hours. Qin Zhao had already woken up. Is my father all right? Amira immediately became anxious. Qin Zhao continued to eat his sandwich unhurriedly. I don't know. I'll go in and take a look after dinner. Mr. Qin, are you still in the mood to eat? What else? Your father doesn't want to see me anyway. Mr. Qin, please go and save my father. I'm afraid he's in danger. Don't worry. Listen to the frequency of the gunshots. It seems like they are still in the middle of a fierce battle. Maybe they are finishing up now. Mr. Qin? Qin Zhao looked up at Amira. Ms. Amira, I didn't accept the mission to save your father. It was your father who rejected me. Qin Zhao was still very petty. Depp had been so rude to him earlier. Of course, Qin Zhao didn't want to save him. Amira panicked. If you don't go, I'll go. Amira took out a gun from somewhere and was about to enter the construction site. Suddenly, a jeep dashed out from inside. But the jeep was moving too fast. There was no time for it to make a turn, and it directly crashed into the front of Amira's car, which was parked at the entrance. Amira, why are you still here? Depp exclaimed. Damn, the car's broken. I can't move, Avenko cursed. Another monster roar came from the back. Everyone looked back. The huge crocodile monster had charged out with its minions behind it. The flames on their bodies had already ignited the entire construction site. When the crocodile monster charged, it crawled on all fours just like a crocodile. However, it could stand up on its own. Prepare to fight. Avenko didn't panic. He grabbed a machine gun and started shooting at the crocodile monster. However, when the bullets hit the crocodile monster, they only created sparks. The damage was limited. The other long-tongued monsters scattered immediately. Amira, let's go, Depp called. Amira looked at Qin Zhao. Mr. Qin, it's your turn now. You have no reason to refuse now, right? No rush, Qin Zhao said unhurriedly. Wait until they're all dead. Depp glared at Qin Zhao, who was sitting on the roof. Kid, I'll remember you. You better remember, Qin Zhao said, unconcerned. The crocodile monster was different from its minions. It was smarter and stronger. It quickly hid in a house and came out from the other side. At the same time, it grabbed a bulldozer parked nearby and threw it at the mercenaries. The bulldozer, which weighed several tons, smashed into the jeep and exploded its fuel tank. Now, Avenko and the others finally realized how troublesome this monster was. But now they had no other choice but to fight back. Taking advantage of the explosion, the crocodile monster jumped over. It stomped a mercenary to death and swung its tail. Another mercenary screamed and flew away. Everyone's faces were pale as they looked at the huge monster in front of them in horror. Hey, monster! Suddenly, Avenko shouted from behind the crocodile monster. The crocodile monster turned around and looked at Avinko. Brr. Avinko suddenly threw a grenade into the crocodile monster's mouth. Boom. A violent explosion came from the crocodile monster's mouth. But the crocodile monster didn't fall. Avinko's legs went soft. At this moment he finally lost his usual calmness. The crocodile monster seemed to be immortal. The gunshots stopped. Everyone stared at the crocodile monster anxiously. The crocodile monster looked down at Avinko with a hint of mockery. Just then, a long-tongued monster that had circled behind the crowd curled its tongue around Depp. Ah, Mr. Chin, please save my dad. Seeing that Qin Zhao wasn't moved, Amira immediately shouted, $30 million. I'll raise the price. $30 million. Qin Zhao suddenly jumped off the roof and disappeared into the darkness. Not long after, Qin Zhao returned with Depp, who was still in shock. Chapter 11:20. Qin Zhao tossed Depp onto the ground. If I don't receive the money in 1 minute, I'll throw you back to those monsters. Depp was also scared out of his wits. He was dumbfounded during the entire process. He'd never been so close to death. He thought that he was dead for sure, but the next moment he realized that the monster grabbing him didn't seem to be able to stand still. Then he fell into Qin Zhao's hands. You're blackmailing me? Depp still didn't understand the situation. Amira immediately went up. Mr. Qin, I promise in my name that I won't go back on my word. Fine, I'll believe you. Amira looked at the monsters surrounding him and gulped. So, Mr. Qin, are you willing to help now? At the moment, Amelia was equally nervous. Suddenly, a monster shot its tongue over and wrapped around Qin Zhao's body. Seeing that Qin Zhao was wrapped up, the remaining mercenaries naturally thought that he was dead for sure. However, something unexpected happened. Qin Zhao wasn't dragged away. Instead, he stood there without moving. On the contrary, the long-tongued monster was pulled over by Qin Zhao. Everyone stared at Qin Zhao in disbelief. These monsters weighed more than 500 kilograms and were at least 3 meters long. How did this man pull them? But the monster wasn't stupid. Since it couldn't pull Qin Zhao, it opened its mouth and tried to cover Qin Zhao. Qin Zhao was about to be swallowed by the monster. Suddenly, Qin Zhao raised his arms and grabbed the monster's upper and lower jaws. Whoosh, Depp's eyes widened. Qin Zhao actually tore the long-tongued monster in half. Everyone stared at Qin Zhao in disbelief. Just now, he'd torn the monster in half? Did that really happen? Even the crocodile monster noticed Qin Zhao. It turned to look at Qin Zhao. Ignoring Avinko, it charged at Qin Zhao. Just then, Qin Zhao was wrapped up by another monster's tongue. Oh no! Seeing this, everyone started to worry for Qin Zhao. The crocodile monster smashed into Qin Zhao, sending him flying more than 10 meters away. He landed in the fire of the exploded jeep. It's over? Depp's heart sank. Amira's face was pale as well. She had high hopes for Qin Zhao. But Qin Zhao had died just like that. This was something she had never dreamed of. Just as everyone was in despair, Qin Zhao stood up in the flames. Then Qin Zhao grabbed the flaming bulldozer. The bulldozer was lifted up and smashed towards the crocodile monster. The crocodile monster had the same thought as everyone else. The bulldozer had already smashed into the crocodile monster's body and was sent flying more than 10 meters away. Qin Zhao patted the flames on his body and walked out. Depp, Avinko and the rest all stared at Qin Zhao dumbfounded. Qin Zhao shrugged as if he was warming up. Now the way everyone looked at Qin Zhao had completely changed. This man was the real monster. He was a monster through and through. The crocodile monster pushed away the bulldozer on its body and stood up again. Roar! This time the crocodile monster wasn't so careless. It looked at Qin Zhao with vigilance and hostility. Previously, it had only treated Qin Zhao as food, but now Qin Zhao was an enemy, a powerful enemy. The crocodile monster crouched on the ground and charged at Qin Zhao. But when it was less than 5 meters away from Qin Zhao, the crocodile monster suddenly turned around. Its huge tail swept towards Qin Zhao. There were still flames burning on its tail. Bang! Everyone felt a little dizzy from the sound. It was too loud. Just when they thought Qin Zhao would be swept away, he only moved a few meters back and hugged the flaming tail. Ah! Qin Zhao also roared. The crocodile monster started spinning in Qin Zhao's hand. Bang! Qin Zhao grabbed the crocodile monster's tail and smashed it into the bulldozer. The bulldozer had already become a piece of scrap metal. Then it smashed into Amira's car. Amira's car was also flattened instantly. Qin Zhao swung the huge crocodile monster again. This time he smashed it into the ground. The crocodile monster suddenly turned around and spat out a pillar of fire at Qin Zhao. Boom! Qin Zhao was blown away. Everyone tensed up again, but Qin Zhao stood up again. It can actually spit fire, Qin Zhao muttered to himself. Yen %, #yen, Qin Zhao suddenly raised his head. Did this guy come from hell? But that didn't seem strange. Qin Zhao looked at the crocodile monster's neck. There was a metal collar around it just like a dog's collar. There was also a chain on the collar. Qin Zhao moved again and charged at the crocodile monster. The crocodile monster spat out flames again. But this explosion couldn't stop Qin Zhao. Qin Zhao had already reached the crocodile monster and grabbed the chain around its neck. Pood! The crocodile monster was pulled to the ground. Qin Zhao dragged the chain through the crocodile's mouth and then jumped onto its back, tugging on it like a rope. The crocodile monster struggled crazily, but Qin Zhao only had to pull the chain upwards and the crocodile's upper jaw was almost broken. Everyone was watching this thrilling battle. Dad, how do you feel now? Amira glanced at her father. Depp's face was bright red. He didn't answer Amira's question. Because of your stubbornness and suspicion, I have to pay 30 million more, Amira said angrily. I'll pay for it. Depp turned his head away. Actually, his heart was dripping blood. Even if he was a billionaire, $30 million wasn't a small amount. If it was anyone else, they would probably feel heartache. Crack! Just then Qin Zhao ripped off the crocodile monster's upper jaw. The crocodile monster's arrogance instantly weakened. Qin Zhao took out his bronze sword and pierced through the crocodile monster's skull. Mr. Qin, $5 million. I want this monster's body intact. Amira knew that her father collected animal corpses as specimens and kept them in his house. But she didn't expect her father to be so obsessed with them. After the crocodile monster's skull was pierced through, it struggled for a while and then stopped breathing. The moment those long-tongued monsters saw that their boss was dead, they immediately fled, all of them fleeing towards the underground cave. Qin Zhao jumped down from the crocodile monster's body. I hope to see the transfer tomorrow. Is that okay? Chapter 11:21. Qin Zhao glanced at Depp and didn't say anything. However, his attitude had already explained everything. He refused. Mr. Qin, Amira said, please help the monsters that escaped back into the cave. Qin Zhao nodded. I'll do it according to our agreement. Qin Zhao walked to the cave and jumped in alone. Depp let out a long sigh. Amira, where did you find this guy? Compared to this monster, he's more like... Dad, if you know the enemies he fought in the past, you won't think he's that strong. After entering the cave, Qin Zhao went straight to the depths. He didn't encounter a single monster along the way. Soon he found the circular well in the depths. All the long-tongued monsters were gathered below. They seemed to have sensed Qin Zhao's arrival. They all barked at him like a bunch of mad dogs. Qin Zhao frowned, not because of the monster's frenzied reactions, but because of the bronze pillar. Qin Zhao jumped down from above and landed on the pile of bones. The monsters tried to attack him, but he killed a few on the spot. There was a broken chain on the pillar. Thinking of the collar and chain on the crocodile's neck, it wasn't hard to guess that the crocodile had been chained to the pillar. There were many patterns on the pillar, and one of the largest patterns was that of a crocodile monster. In the pattern, the crocodile was eating people while a group of people knelt on the ground. It was as if the crocodile was a god. There were also demonic words on the pillar. It seemed to be a spell. Qin Zhao recognized the demonic words. Sakami, Domi, Adonis. Qin Zhao chanted the demonic words. Just then the pillar suddenly shook. The surrounding monsters seemed to be affected by the spell and became even more frenzied, but they didn't dare to approach Qin Zhao. As Qin Zhao continued chanting, the monsters actually started dispersing. They turned into a beam of green light and entered the pillar. Every time Qin Zhao chanted a note, another tongued monster would disappear. Qin Zhao was confused. When Qin Zhao finished the last note, all the tongue-tied monsters disappeared. Qin Zhao pulled the pillar up bit by bit. It was at least 20 meters long. Could this be the Rui Jingu Bang? Qin Zhao laughed at himself. He was thinking too much. However, he discovered that there was another demonic incantation carved on the other side of the pillar. Qin Zhao was a bit surprised, but under the urge of curiosity, he still chanted the spell. The long-tongued monster that had disappeared earlier reappeared before Qin Zhao. But this time they didn't attack him. Instead, they knelt on the ground devoutly. Is this copper pillar the artifact used to control these long-tongued monsters? These long-tongued monsters seemed to be very reluctant to return to the copper pillar. However, Qin Zhao still chanted the first part of the spell and pulled all the tongued monsters back into the pillar. Qin Zhao was more curious about the bronze pillar's origin. Qin Zhao put the copper pillar into his spatial ring. After returning to the surface, Depp and Amira had yet to leave. When they saw Qin Zhao jump out of the 10-meter deep hole, they were secretly shocked. "Mr. Qin, is it settled?" "Yup, it's done. There's not a single monster down there." The two heaved a long sigh of relief. Depp was very regretful now. Because of his doubt, he had to pay an extra $30 million. However, Qin Zhao's display of strength made him not have the courage to go back on his word. "Mr. Qin, is there anything else?" "Back to the hotel." "Tomorrow," Qin Zhao said calmly. Amira called a car and sent Qin Zhao back to the city. To be honest, the battle today wasn't that intense for Qin Zhao. However, he actually felt tired. After arriving at the hotel, Qin Zhao washed up and hurriedly went to bed. In a daze, Qin Zhao suddenly woke up. When he opened his eyes again, he seemed to have appeared in an unknown place. Surrounded by copper pillars, Qin Zhao rubbed his forehead. Qin Zhao was very clear-headed now. He was dreaming. He was in a dream. However, he couldn't wake up. Qin Zhao started pacing around the pillars. Suddenly he saw figures in front of him. One of them was a 10-meter-tall female giant. She lay on the ground lazily, one hand resting on her head. She looked like a reclining Buddha. Although the female giant was huge, she gave off an indescribable sense of beauty. Not to mention her figure, just based on her appearance, this female giant was definitely a peerless beauty. The female giant kept yawning as if she hadn't slept enough. A man knelt before the female giant. The man kept saying something. However, Qin Zhao couldn't hear their conversation. The female giant didn't seem to want to pay attention to the man. At this time, the man took out a golden knife and cut his wrist. Then he raised his bleeding arm high. Soon, a pool of blood formed on the ground. The female giant finally looked at the man in the eye, and then opened her mouth to speak. Qin Zhao couldn't hear anything, but he could see the female giant's lips. "In Roth Terra, alas." Qin Zhao unconsciously repeated the female giant's incantation. Then the surrounding copper pillars started glowing. They turned into beams of different colors and shot into the sky. Qin Zhao looked up at the sky. Only then did he realize that the place in his dream wasn't the human world. It was hell. However, why did he have such a strange dream? This female giant should be a demon, right? Who is she? Who's the person kneeling on the ground? Suddenly the female giant looked at Qin Zhao. The moment he met her gaze, Qin Zhao's body and mind shook. Whoosh, Qin Zhao sat up from the bed. He'd woken up. Was it because the dream had ended? Or was it because he'd been woken up by the female giant in his dream? Did the female giant know that he was in his dream? Qin Zhao felt strange. The female giant, the man, and the copper pillars. Qin Zhao looked outside the window. It was actually morning. Qin Zhao walked to the window and pulled open the curtains. He enjoyed bathing in the sunlight. However, his mind was still filled with the female giant's eyes. Had the female giant barged into his dream, or had he dreamt of the female giant? However, it definitely had something to do with the copper pillar. He'd had such a strange dream because he'd taken the pillar. Chapter 11:22. There was really no place to play in Abilene. The most famous place was the former president's former residence and 2 museums. Qin Zhao walked around Abilene in the morning. Even Amira didn't know where to take him. Qin Zhao was glad that he didn't bring Fei Lai. That afternoon, Qin Zhao returned home. When he got home, he immediately took out the bronze pillar and threw it in the backyard. "Ah, demon god pillar." Beelzebub exclaimed in surprise when he saw it. "What demon god pillar? You know about this?" Qin Zhao didn't expect to get the answer so easily. "It's very common in hell," Beelzebub said. In order to control low-level demons, some high-level demons will imprison them in demon god pillars. But the main demon of this pillar seems to be gone. "I killed it," Qin Zhao said. "Now, only some small fries are sealed inside. Next time you go to hell, you can find a powerful demon and imprison him in this demon god pillar. This demon god pillar looks pretty high level. There's only release and recall spells on it. There's no imprison spell," Qin Zhao said. "Do you know the imprison spell? If you don't understand, you can ask King Samuel." Just then, Fei Lai and Jerlin, who was carrying Samuel, walked to the backyard. Seeing the demon god pillar, Fei Lai was stunned. "Qin, what's this? Demon god pillar? Are you talking about one of Solomon's 72 demon god pillars?" Hearing Fei Lai's words, Qin Zhao couldn't help but be stunned. Among all the legends in the West, Solomon's 72 demon god pillars were one of the more familiar ones. But before this, Qin Zhao hadn't thought about this. Moreover, Solomon was the king of the ancient Jewish kingdom. Qin Zhao wouldn't associate something that appeared in North America with Solomon. I don't think so. Qin Zhao wasn't sure either. After all, anything related to demons couldn't be understood with common sense. For example, Abaddon. Who would have thought that it had the appearance of a mummy? Is there a demon god inside? I killed the demon god inside last night. Really, if you meet him again, remember to catch him alive. I want to see what the legendary demon god looks like. Okay, I'll remember. Qin Zhao smiled bitterly. However, were these demon god pillars really Solomon's 72 demon god pillars? Qin Zhao reached out and touched the demon god pillar. The moment he touched it, the female giant's eyes flashed across his mind. After returning to the villa, Qin Zhao picked up the computer and searched for information about Solomon and the 72 demon god pillars. Through the search engine, a lot of information about this legend quickly popped up. In many historical records, Solomon sought refuge from the demon king of hell, Belial, in order to consolidate his royal power. After that, the demon king of hell Belial and Solomon signed a contract. Solomon could command the 72 demon gods under Belial, but the price was that after Solomon died, his soul would belong to Belial. During Solomon's reign, the country was extremely powerful. However, before he died, Solomon sealed the 72 demon gods in a bottle. After Solomon's death, the Babylonians immediately seized the opportunity to invade the Jewish kingdom. They mistakenly opened the bottle with the 72 demon gods sealed inside, causing them to escape and disappear without a trace. Qin Zhao sank into deep thought. If he analyzed it according to the information he had found based on the information he'd found, and his dream, the female giant he saw was Belial? And the person kneeling in front of the female giant is Solomon? Right, Amon was Belial's subordinate. He could go and ask him. Qin Zhao walked to the lake and looked at a water monster with a white belly in the distance. Amon was usually too lazy to move, so he just floated on the water like this. Qin Zhao shouted, "Amon, come here." Amon didn't move, so Qin Zhao continued shouting. Only then did Amon flip over and slowly swim to the shore. "Master, what are you doing? Is your subordinate, the king of sloth, Belial, male or female?" "I don't know." "You don't know? How are you a subordinate?" "I'm King Belial's subordinate, not his son. How would I know if he's male or female? Plus, with King Belial's ability, it doesn't matter to him whether he's male or female. Only you humans care about this." Qin Zhao realized that communicating with Amon was really painful. This lazy guy had been with him for a year. When Qin Zhao gave him his salary, he often asked for demonic crystals. But every time Qin Zhao talked to him, his attitude was still like he was a demon master. It was the same for Beelzebub. "Last night, I killed a demon god pillar familiar. I suspect it's Belial's demon god pillar," Qin Zhao said. "Do you have a way to tell?" "Let me see." Qin Zhao brought the demon god pillar to Amon. Amon shook his head in the water. "I can't tell. Apart from the fact that it looks like an advanced demon god pillar, I can't tell anything else." "Advanced demon god pillar? But that familiar feels very weak. I didn't even use 1/10 of my power." "Who said that advanced demon god pillars have to imprison powerful demons?" Amon said matter-of-factly. "Demon god pillars usually imprison demons with special bloodlines. Their combat power might not be high. But I don't feel that the familiar has any special abilities." "Maybe it's not a battle-type special ability," Amon said. "Are there any crocodile-type familiars in Belial's 72 demon god pillars?" "I don't know," Amon answered. Amon replied, "In addition, you seem to be mistaken. King Beria has far more than 72 demon pillars. King Beria controls 11 demon legions, and each legion has 6,666 demons. Belial wouldn't imprison all his demons in the demon god pillars, right? Lord Belial is very lazy, so he always brings all his servants with him." This was a level of laziness that had reached a certain level. But it was understandable. Belial was the king of sloth. There was no demon in the entire hell that was lazier than Belial. Qin Zhao looked at the demon god pillar and stabbed it into the ground. No one would be able to steal it anyway. Moreover, if an enemy came to invade, he could directly chant an incantation or directly summon minions to kill the enemy. Unfortunately, Qin Zhao had killed the main familiar. He should have kept the crocodile-type monster. It didn't have high combat power, but it looked cool. "Oh, do you know how to imprison demons in demon god pillars?" Chapter 11:23. The next day, Qin Zhao went to school directly. After all, he'd promised Evely that he'd start her pre-race training. Qin Zhao wanted to continue driving his truck, but Feilai forced him to drive his new car. It was quite eye-catching to drive $1 million supercar into the school. Qin Zhao wanted to keep a low profile, but Feilai's retort made him speechless. You want to keep a low profile after buying this car? Qin Zhao was speechless. On the way, Qin Zhao received a call. It was another call from the handsome guy. Qin Zhao, I changed my ride recently. Look at my new ride. Qin Zhao saw a huge ray, commonly known as a devil ray. However, the devil ray under the handsome guy's feet was clearly dozens of times bigger than a regular one. Of course, compared to the super big black dragon from before, this stingray seemed a little small. Handsome, where's your black dragon mount? It's too flashy riding the ancestral dragon's projection. I've been more low-key recently. Qin Zhao was speechless. This devil ray wasn't that low-key either. I got a new car too. Qin Zhao chatted with the handsome guy. At the same time, he sent a photo of his new car. Next time, bring me one too. I want this car too. My car can't fly. I want it anyway. Okay. Well, let me ask you something. What? You know Belial, right? Yes. Is Belial male or female? I mean, according to human standards, he's the most primitive gender. Don't tell me that his gender is meaningless. I think he's female. Why do you want to know? I think I found something that belonged to her. After getting the handsome guy's answer, Qin Zhao was completely sure that the demon god pillar was one of the 72 demon god pillars. The demon god pillar that she left in the human world, Qin Zhao said. And I even dreamed of her. Weird. Why would you dream of her? The handsome guy was also confused. If it's you and someone dreams of you, can you find the dreamer? I can't, the handsome boy said. Then I shouldn't be dreaming. You used the demon god pillar to infiltrate Belial's consciousness, said the handsome boy. This was the most reasonable explanation. Because dreaming was an act of self-consciousness, the people and things in the dream were all fake. So, if it was a dream, the person in the dream shouldn't have self-consciousness, let alone look at him like that. Therefore, the little handsome guy immediately guessed the only possibility. But the gap between you and her is so big, how did you manage to infiltrate her consciousness? Qin Zhao could be imagined as a thief who had successfully snuck into the Ministry of Defense and stolen something from inside. From the perspective of probability, this was almost impossible. If Belial's self-consciousness was so easily invaded, then Belial wouldn't be the great demon king. Qin Zhao didn't understand either. But one good thing about Qin Zhao was that he didn't want to think about things he couldn't understand. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't figure it out. By the way, handsome, what color car do you want? White. I'll bring it to you next time I go to hell. Qin Zhao paused and said, by the way, I want you to know the spell to imprison the demon in the demon god pillar, right? Yes, I'll teach you the spell, the handsome boy said. Also, you need to be careful that the demon you imprison can't be stronger than you. You also have to beat the demon until he's unconscious. That'll make it easier to imprison him. Just then there was the sound of a police siren. Qin Zhao glanced at the rearview mirror, his expression gloomy. I can't talk to you anymore. I have trouble. Do you need my help? How can you help me? Kill him and I'll torture his soul. No need. That's all for now. Qin Zhao immediately hung up and watched as Sharon's police car stopped by the roadside. You bought a new car? Sharon asked, studying his car. Yes. Is buying a new car against the traffic rules? It's not illegal to buy a new car, but it's against the rules to answer a call while driving. Here's your ticket. Also, it's not your first time answering a call while driving. I'll deduct 1 point. In California, there is the same penalty point system as in the US. Qin Zhao's expression was helpless. It seemed that every time he broke the traffic rules, Sharon would appear. Sometimes, Qin Zhao even suspected that Sharon was following him. Nevertheless, Qin Zhao followed the traffic rules most of the time. However, he had no choice but to answer a call while driving. Your car is so beautiful. After giving Qin Zhao a ticket, Sharon started admiring his new car. Qin Zhao's expression was lifeless. He didn't want to talk to Sharon at all. Qin Zhao remembered that Sharon had a sports car that was several times more expensive than his. It seemed to be a limited edition Pagani. Do you want a drink? I don't have time today. I have to go to school. Qin Zhao and Sharon seemed to have formed a tacit understanding. Every time Sharon stopped Qin Zhao, they would find a nearby cafe to have a cup of coffee. Okay, I'll drink next time I see you. Sharon, did you put some tracking device on me? Why do you always appear before me every time I break the rules? I also want to ask you if you break the rules in front of me every time. Sharon rolled her eyes. Qin Zhao didn't stay for long. After saying goodbye to Sharon, he went straight to school. The Porsche 918 was quite eye-catching. On the way to the school parking lot, a few girls threw flirtatious glances at Qin Zhao. Every time Qin Zhao went to the swimming pool, there would always be a lot of spectators. There were especially many male spectators. Qin Zhao suspected that the boys were here to see the girls' swimsuits. Qin Zhao saw that Zabi was still training the other students on the school swim team. When Zabi saw Qin Zhao, his eyes were filled with resentment. He felt that Qin Zhao was blocking his way. Unfortunately, Qin Zhao completely ignored Zabi. In another pool, Evely was practicing alone. "Hi, Evely. Qin, you're finally here. I thought you were going to stand me up again. I said that I'll take 2 days off. I always keep my word. Okay, hurry up and train. I've waited long enough. How far did you swim this morning?" "About 5,000 meters. Chapter 11:24. Evely was already used to Qin Zhao's rough training method. But Qin Zhao's training method was very effective. As long as Evely cooperated with Qin Zhao wholeheartedly, there would always be results. She had doubts in the beginning, but now she no longer had any doubts. The only thing she doubted was that Qin Zhao's training time was too short. After lunch, Qin Zhao planned to leave. "Evely, you need to eat more fat and protein. Your fat ratio is a bit low. It's not good for your stamina." Usually, a normal person's fat ratio was around 10, while an athlete's was below 5. There was also a type of bodybuilder. They injected a lot of cholesterol, which resulted in a very low fat ratio. Their muscles would look very exaggerated in the short term, but if there was too much cholesterol in the body, it would be very harmful to the body. Bodybuilders had exaggerated muscles, but their stamina, endurance, and explosive power couldn't be compared to other athletes. Evely's fat ratio was already below 3. Fat could actually provide a lot of stamina. The lower the body fat, the better. Athletes usually pursued the most perfect and standard ratio of fat to muscle. "Also, you can come to my house tomorrow and train at Mirror Lake." "What?" Evely asked, confused. Usually, swimmers rarely trained in water. "The environment is good," Qin Zhao said calmly. Evely rolled her eyes. This guy was just too lazy to go out. Mirror Lake contains some substances that are very beneficial to the human body. It can greatly stimulate and increase one's stamina and cell activity, Qin Zhao said. Phalai and Jerlin soak in the lake every day. Evely's eyes brightened. Qin Zhao definitely had the best arrangements for his girlfriend and child. Since even they soaked in the lake every day, it would definitely be very beneficial for him. "Does it mean that the more I soak, the better it is for my body?" You can understand it that way, but human cells can't infinitely increase their activity or absorb those beneficial substances. "The more and longer I soak, the worse the effects will be." "Did you buy Mirror Lake because of this?" Evely thought that Qin Zhao had chosen a place that was useless in other people's eyes because of his unique vision. Sort of. Actually, Qin Zhao only liked Mirror Lake's environment. That was all. In the afternoon, Qin Zhao went to treat Kohler. Kohler's recovery from his injuries was very good, and he was now able to carry out rehabilitation exercises. In less than a week, Kohler would be able to return to the field. A few days ago, Kohler took the time to go to UCLA. He gave the players of the basketball club a lesson. When he came out of Kohler's house, Depp had already transferred the money to his account. Tens of millions of dollars made Qin Zhao very happy. Qin Zhao went straight to the headquarters of the association. He hadn't been there for a few days. Of course, the supernatural organization only needed to report when there was a mission. Normally, everyone was busy with their own things. For example, an elite. The association even bought a huge insurance policy for every member of the association. However, when everyone was free, they would still go to the association. After all, everyone wanted to improve their strength. Thus, they all wanted to cultivate in the Tower of Trials. The supernatural organization was quite famous. However, their reputations were not very good. The main reason was that the supernatural organization had been making a fool of itself in the past 20 years. They had been weak for a long time, and it was difficult for the people of the supernatural world to shake off their preconceived notions. Of course, the association was too lazy to correct people's thoughts. Actually, it was very easy to change people's minds. They just had to report the results of the association last year. However, the people of the association had the same opinion. They were just pretending to be weak. Otherwise, if the association had any enemies in the future, they would be even more careful. For example, that family from back then. If that family had been more careful, they might have been able to severely damage the association with their abilities. Thus, the members felt that they should be low-key and do things in a high-profile manner. As soon as Qin Zhao's car stopped at the entrance, Jalanash appeared before him excitedly. President, I passed the first round. Jalanash's eyes were shining. Really? Good job. Qin Zhao could tell that Jalanash wanted his praise. Thus, Qin Zhao's performance was also very exaggerated. This greatly satisfied Jalanash's vanity. Qin Zhao realized that Jalanash's magic power seemed to have increased quite a bit. Qin Zhao was surprised. Jalanash's magic power increase was too much. The association's magic power potion is finished? Yes. Jalanash nodded and casually revealed her golden ring. Chairman, my magic power has reached 449. Roland nodded and said, President, my magic power has reached 449. The magic power potion this time is so effective? Qin Zhao was surprised. It's mainly because I didn't care about the high-grade materials, Jalanash said. But Mr. West said that there was a small mistake when making the magic potion. Otherwise the effect would have been better. Jalanash said. Okay, try to pass the second level as soon as possible. I have high hopes for you. Qin Zhao patted Jalanash's shoulder. I'll go in first. Where's West now? Qin Zhao felt that it was a pity. He'd already taken the potion. It could only be used once. It was ineffective the second time. In his office. Qin Zhao entered the headquarters and pushed open West's office. President, you're here. West, is the potion done? Yes, it's done. President, how many do you need? I don't need it. I've already used it before, so I don't need it anymore, Qin Zhao said. Oh, prepare a few more for Gaia. Jalanash could increase her magic power by several times, so Gaia's increase should be even greater. Okay. West nodded. Oh, President, there's something I want to discuss with you. Go ahead. I'm planning to recruit 2 more members, West said. What? We already have a lot of people in the association, right? It's mainly because we already have combat and logistics, but we don't have healing-type spiritualists or alchemists. This time, we completely relied on Alice flipping through books while making the potion. The final product's effect was actually reduced, West said. The magic power potion is still the most basic alchemy product. Alice can barely do it. If we want to make more complicated alchemy products in the future, we can't do it without a professional alchemist. The other thing is a healing-type spiritualist. Chapter 11:25. Of course, West knew that Qin Zhao was a doctor. Indeed, Qin Zhao could treat most injuries. But more importantly, Qin Zhao's combat ability was too outstanding. Most of the time, Qin Zhao was the main fighting force. When Qin Zhao fought, he couldn't treat the injured members at the same time. Therefore, the effects of a healer were obvious. Moreover, Qin Zhao didn't know how to heal quickly or suppress pain. This was also what West considered. Actually, most people in the association had complicated magic systems. For example, Qin Zhao was a typical example. His magic system was very complicated. Next was Jalanash. She majored in elemental magic and mixed in other magic systems. She also knew some healing spells. Although Helis had the bloodline of death, she also knew 1 or 2 normal spells. The most simple ones were Patya and More. Patya was a shaman's battle dance. She only knew this magic system while More was a clone magic. Norma and Gaia were pure awakened bloodlines. Therefore, when West heard that Qin Zhao refused to find a healer, he immediately argued with Qin Zhao. Qin Zhao couldn't win against West. In the end he was convinced. Whatever. Do as you see fit, Qin Zhao said helplessly. Oh, I need you to investigate some information for me. What information? Are there any ancient bronze pillars around the world? West was shocked. President, there's one under our headquarters. Qin Zhao's eyes widened. He looked at West in shock. There's a bronze pillar under our association? Yeah, when we bought this place, the previous owner brought me to see this copper pillar, but I didn't find anything wrong with it. What kind of bronze pillar? How big? How long? Never mind, take me there. Qin Zhao didn't expect that there would be a bronze pillar right under his nose in the association's headquarters. West brought Qin Zhao to the basement 3 floors. The basement was a warehouse. The second floor was a dungeon. The third floor was originally used as a warehouse, but it wasn't used yet. But when Qin Zhao reached the lower 3 floors, he only saw a few pillars. He didn't see any bronze pillars. The construction team that the president hired found that this copper pillar was too much of a hindrance, and they couldn't move it, so they built the outer shell of the copper pillar with concrete. This is the pillar, West said, pointing to the pillar in the middle. Qin Zhao peeled off the concrete shell, revealing the copper pillar inside. It was indeed the demon god pillar. Qin Zhao had an idea. If I pull out this pillar, will it affect the structure of the headquarters? That won't happen. This pillar was originally not part of the plan. It's not responsible for bearing any weight. Qin Zhao glanced at the ceiling above him. First, he removed all the concrete covering the copper pillars. Then he wrapped his arms around the copper pillar and pulled it outwards. West was used to Qin Zhao's strange strength. Very quickly, a hole appeared in the ceiling. Qin Zhao pulled it out bit by bit. West asked in confusion, "President, the previous construction team said that they couldn't pull the bronze pillar out even with a crane. How did you pull it out?" "I don't know," Qin Zhao said. The pillar was heavy, but it was within Qin Zhao's bearable range. He didn't feel that it was too heavy. Logically speaking, the crane should have enough power to pull the pillar out. But Qin Zhao didn't hesitate. Instead, he pulled the pillar out bit by bit. This copper pillar was slightly longer than the previous one, but relatively speaking, it was thinner. After pulling the entire pillar out, Qin Zhao put it in his spatial ring. "President, what's the use of that pillar? Have you heard of Solomon's 72 demon god pillars?" West's eyes widened. He stared at Qin Zhao in shock. "President, you're saying that this pillar is one of Solomon's 72 demon god pillars?" "I think so. I found one the night before yesterday." "What about the demon god?" "I need a spell," Qin Zhao said. "Let's go outside first. I'll try to summon it." When Qin Zhao and West arrived at the empty space outside the headquarters, Qin Zhao took the demon god pillar out again and placed it flat on the ground. Qin Zhao studied the incantations and patterns on the demon god pillar. The pattern on the demon god pillar was a leopard-headed familiar. The leopard-headed familiar was sitting cross-legged on the ground with a bow placed horizontally between its legs. "Badalu Adawa?" Qin Zhao started chanting. Gradually, the demon god pillar released a wisp of green smoke. A tall familiar with a leopard's head and human body gradually walked out of the green smoke. West looked at the familiar in shock. Disbelief was written all over his face. The leopard-headed familiar's chest bulged. It was wrapped in animal skin. Its limbs didn't look like humans. They had sharp claws. On its back was a 3-meter-long bow and a quiver with 12 arrows in it. The familiar looked at Qin Zhao. It took 2 steps toward him and then knelt on one knee. Qin Zhao was on guard because the familiar didn't have a collar. "Agars, I pledge my loyalty to you, master." The familiar spoke in demon language. "President, what did he say?" Qin Zhao didn't answer West's question. Instead, he asked in demon language, "Don't you know the human language?" "I can learn if that's your order." "Then learn it quickly," Qin Zhao said. "West, she's Agars. Teach her the language." "Huh? She doesn't know the human language. Teach her." "Oh." Just then Adu saw Agars. "President, what's this big guy?" he asked curiously. "She's Agars, a demon god," Qin Zhao said. "Oh, Agars, do you have any special abilities?" "My bow and arrow can hit any target I lock onto," Agars said. "How?" "By having the magical aura I remember." In other words, if the target doesn't have a magical aura, I can't lock onto them, right? "Yes." "You fight enemies with bows and arrows?" "And my claws?" Agars said expressionlessly. Agars said expressionlessly. Or perhaps Qin Zhao couldn't understand her expression. Anyway, Qin Zhao felt that Agars' tone was cold and her expression was cool. "Try to attack me?" "No. Familiars aren't allowed to attack their master." "I allow it." You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.